What's up, guys?
What's up, Eli?
How we doing?
Hey, we're doing good, man. Leave that on there.
We got a little special guest today, man.
I got to hear those lyrics.
It's a big day.
Every time we have long cut and some alcohol, I have to hear. Let it go for a minute.
Let it roll.
All right, cool. I'm good. Once he goes real cowboy on me and we're off the asphalt, I can't do it.
All right, here we go.
I'm a soccer dad, man.
Here
I
we
need
go.
I need King Supers and paved roads, and
Yeah, man.
I have a truck, but I like it when it stays
Like it
clean.
clean.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I gotta
Yeah.
keep it there. Super fun episode. Ironic that it's episode 69. Not even sure what that means.
Is it ironic?
It's not.
Ah.
It's meant to be. We might have been timing this whole episode thing for an entire year.
Yeah.
Just so our 1 year anniversary could be at 69 with Scott Leffert.
So,
Speaking of Scott
yeah.
Leffert,
well, real quick, before we get into that, welcome to the
Eli has to do
$1
his
Zero
business
podcast.
side.
No, that's it. Welcome to the podcast, guys. Thanks for listening.
if you like it. Find us
Yeah.
on iTunes, Spotify,
All that good
YouTube,
stuff.
Facebook. If you guys got questions or comments or topics for discussion or shit, if you want to be on the podcast, hit us up. We'd love to hear from you.
You know the drill.
With that being said, we do have like a secret guest today.
Secret guest.
We've been trying to get his pretty ass on the podcast for a while. He's usually busy. He's the mature side of the business.
Yeah.
Some of you like to refer that as a lender, where they got to do a good job and sit at that desk and count numbers and keep things organized and keep Will and Eli within legal realm for what we're trying to do with clients. But reason behind having him here is one, not only is he starting a new endeavor, still in lending, but a new company and a lot of really cool new things for him. He's always supported us with Eli and I's new endeavors. He's actually supported me since day one. We're going to get into that. But what better way to talk on a 1 year anniversary episode than friendship and loyalty and commitment and just serving the guys that you're in the trenches with and thinking for others. And obviously something very similar to the Marine Corps that, you know, I definitely appreciate in business. I think it's almost like a lost art in business. I think a lot of people probably seek that. Whether it's there or not, I don't know. We're not going to mention any names today, but we're going to talk about a couple different stories where it hasn't gone like that with people that maybe we wish it would have. But invited Scott. He was super excited to come on and talk about his endeavors. And but with that being said, we're gonna let Scott talk a little bit. He's a little nervous today. He thought I was gonna hurt him or something.
No.
But I got him liquored
Not
up.
us.
We got some Terramana tequila with some pineapple and some lime juice and some good stuff. So we got him liquored up and feeling free spirited today for the podcast. Yeah,
Right
man.
on. Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers, boys.
Yeah,
Happy
guys.
1 year anniversary. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So little context that I'm gonna
Yeah.
Don't
kind of give.
drinking on the cheers or
Oh,
what?
yeah. I
Oh,
put it
sorry.
down. That was
It's
horrible.
both literally
Little bitch,
just
huh?
set the drink down.
That was horrible.
So a little context. Scott and I have known each other since 24 Hour Fitness Days. So I was over at the Fit Republic when I was the director of operations over there, doing a ton of different events, trying some stuff over to coordinate with 24 Hour Fitnesses. And Scott was just going the extra mile, dude, to try to get us to like get approved on, because, you know, 24 Hour Fitness sells supplements, or did. I'm not sure if they're still around anymore, but they used to. But we were a supplement store, so there was a conflict there. But then 24 Hour Fitness did want to start getting back into small businesses and communities around the gyms. And Scott was going the extra mile, just getting us to do some boot camps in those Group X rooms and sponsored by Fit Republic and 80 Seams and just some fun stuff. And was always a cool guy. I worked out at the gym right next to our corporate store and always had a good time. He knew me from way back when we were going from like, that's when we went from like 2 to 14 stores. We were crushing, but a lot of the relationship side, you know, to like the gym was Scott. And he ventures off, he gets into lending. I go through my whole tornado, we'll call it. It wasn't really that bad.
Sure.
But just like some shedding some skin and sleeping in a pantry and cool, I'm getting into real estate. And I end up kind of linking up with a guy where I thought Scott worked. I thought he worked there. I was like, oh, cool. And I was like, and then one of our buddies like, nah, he's a lender, but I think he's over there. I was like, didn't really understand how all that worked quite yet, but I was diving in, I was studying, cool, get licensed, and then so I go to that place of employment, and his wife was working there, he was not, and he walked in like after I was like a week and a half in, and I was like, dude, I'm here, waiting on you to walk into the office, bro.
been?
Where are you? Do you not work? Have you made it?
Yeah.
What is? And he's like, nah, dude, just.
Are you late?
Yeah. And he's like, things didn't work out, man, doing something different, never bad talked anything, but I was like, fuck. And he's like, hey, man, here's what I do. And at that point, I understood lending and all that stuff. And he's like, here's what I do if you need help. You know, let me know. Well, when you're a new agent, you need a ton of help. And sometimes, man, like when people are reaching out to do deals with you, they're not necessarily slam dunk clients.
Yeah.
There's sometimes clients that might have already reached out to other brokers, and even those brokers didn't want them. We're talking people with credit repair, don't have emails or computers, just doing crazy shit. So when I first started, man, like I take Scott up on that, and I'm like, hey, man, I got a client, and I knew people, I knew relationships, so I knew like buyer presentations were important, how you did them was more important, and I also knew getting face to face, building a relationship, bringing a lender, answer those type of questions, super big, but these were still long shot clients.
Yeah.
He fucking went to every single one of them. Yep. I don't know if in the back of his head, he just like was bored. Like he had already crushed life. He had already crushed lending. He's like, fuck it. What else could I do with my time? Like, oh, this knucklehead's getting into real estate. Oh, this will be good. Yeah. Fuck it. Let me roll with this dude.
Why not, man?
But it was huge because it allowed me to build these relationships with clients that end up being some of our biggest, got deals done. Yeah. Secondly, some of our clients that have given us the most referrals over the years. But if I didn't have that support structure, and if I didn't have the ability to bring and orchestrate that and make people feel a certain way, man, I don't know, one, if they'd have been prepared enough to even close, because some of them were long shots. Two, I don't know if they would have gone with me if I didn't have the ability to show such a professional presentation, because I had a good reputation from law enforcement to Fit Republic, but everyone also knew I was new. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I think every realtor battles. And sometimes when you have a bigger network, people think like, man, you were set. You had a huge network. Yeah, they all knew I was new. I don't think I got a friend or like a family member or a friend that knew I was new to do a deal for 6-7 months in. A lot of the folks that we were chatting with were from my gym or from the coffee shop or from my daughter's school. So just having those conversations led to real estate conversations, and they knew me, but they had no idea what I did for a career until that moment. So they didn't necessarily know I was new. And then when you're able to go in and present that professionally with a guy who's just solid, and he had if he wouldn't have helped me, I wouldn't have been mad at him. Yep. But he fucking helped me, dude. And it was huge. And now we get referrals from those folks, and a couple funny stories along the way we're probably going to get into. But
a couple, yeah.
So there's some context on Scott. Scott's been a day one $0 dude with me. I then fortunately introduced him to Eli, and Eli benefits extraordinary from him. You now have a teammate. Yeah. You guys can team up against me when I'm feeling angry. Right. But just context there, especially for today's episode, on how important friendships and relationships and guys that commit to you and don't necessarily need to put their time into you, but they do, and they care about you, and they care about your success. You know, man, things that we're doing now, like we'll be together in business for 20, 30, 40 years from now. And, you know, we're still with him. He made a switch to a different company. I'm going to let him talk about that. And we'll talk about some of the transitions and what you looked at as far as why you made those business choices and why you chose to go where you went. But it was super exciting to support you in some of those endeavors, and we'll comment on that here in a little bit. But just context on Scott of like how long he's actually been around for me personally as a friend. I call him to vent as a dad sometimes, or a husband, and because he's so fucking good at it. He's so good at it, bro. Like the story he was telling us in the garage, I don't even want it on, because I'm like, bro, I could have done that. But he's like a big brother, man. It's good to just talk and vent, and he doesn't expect you to be perfect, but he leads by example, and he makes you want to just do your own life better because of not what he's saying to you. Like when I vented to him, it's been about stuff that's not necessarily acceptable, but he doesn't necessarily call me unacceptable. He just leads from the front, and he's a good dude, and just by observing that, it makes you want to be a good dude. So it's beyond just business. There's a relationship there, hence why this is a perfect podcast to have him on. You know what I mean?
Well, let's talk about it, man.
Well, and the cool part is, right, is it goes way back, like you were talking about, long before you got into real estate and I got into mortgages, right? You know, we think about what we do. You're a real estate agent, I'm a loan officer, but ultimately we're in a relationship-based business. Plain and simple. So it's really cool that our story or our journey started long before either one of us got into this industry.
I remember when you weren't even married yet.
No, I remember talking to you about my first date with my wife.
I met the one.
I remember what you said.
He's like, hey, I met the one. She's smart. She's intellectual. She talks. She comes from a good family and all this stuff. He gives, dude. You ever text message somebody super long and they just respond, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's telling me all this stuff, and I go, is she Asian?
Yeah.
He's like, what? No. Nah, she's, I don't know, white. I was like, well, listen, man, we're gonna have to
You might want to
all right,
reconsider.
we'll give her benefit of doubt. You're a smart guy, and she's awesome, by the way.
Yeah,
She's
after
super
everything,
awesome.
right? You go on this perfect date, you feel like you just met the
Yeah.
one. You come back, he asks you how it goes, and the first thing he says is like, "Is she white?" And I'm like,
why? What's the problem? Like,
Oh, shit. That's
I don't
hilarious.
know. And obviously, I was just busting his balls, man.
It was,
and,
but it
but
was fun.
she's a great chick, man. We have a lot of fun with her, and when we get the wives together, and super good. But kind of getting into it, man. I know we talked about 24-hour fitness and where you're at, but prior to that, you were in lending as well, right? So I think obviously keeping to the nature of the podcast, right? Day one $0 is like, what was your literal day one $0 of like, cool, I went to college and then here's my life, and then what was like that breaking point of getting into lending and then 24-hour fitness, and then that other breaking point of you went back to lending, and I'm guessing at that point, man, you're an adult, you're expected to execute and pay bills, and okay, I got to grow up now. And what was that like as far as starting over and having to like execute and like, hey man, like I really have to make this work, right?
Yeah, well, that adult part, right? That's we'll hit on that one in a second. But getting into it, I was before that time frame, right? So I got into mortgages, I guess, in early 2000s, and it was living in Michigan, right? And then ultimately had an opportunity to go out to San Diego and get into this new industry that I knew nothing about. All I knew is that you could make good money. That was my premise. I was in my early 20s, so cool. I jumped on a plane, I took off, I went out there, and this is a different environment back then, right?
What year was this?
This is 2000, 2001.
So pre-crash.
Pre-crash.
This is like the wild west.
Wild west with lending, because
Yeah.
purely, right, if you think about even our interest rates now, we're in the mid to low threes and trying to get into the twos, and even people still want something better, right? We were taking people from like 8, 9, 10% interest rates down to like 5.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, huge.
But it was just a refi game back then. Like, no joke, it was a boiler room type atmosphere. Have you ever watched Boiler Room?
Yeah.
Perfect example of what this company was.
Yeah.
So it started with 3 guys in a room no bigger than this, and all we would do is cold call title leads.
Yep.
You get a title lead, you get a name and a phone number and the fact that you own a house.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
Everything was scripted, and you would just crank 3, 4, 500 calls a day, right? And eventually what happened from that is you just keep building. Same thing we're all doing now. You just keep building. So you get it to the point, be right before the crash, right? We had a 40-person loan officer room. We had a 40-person telemarketing room. We had our own processing, underwriting, all these
throwing
things.
midgets into like bullseyes and shit.
Yep.
We would get new recruits coming out of training, and we would go make them buy a BMW. Like, it was no joke, just looked like boiler room type atmosphere.
It's funny.
Yeah, man, and then it crashed. And like idiots, you look back on it and you go, cool, I could have been in a better position. I could have saved a little bit more. I could have been a little bit smarter, but I was in my 20s in San Diego.
Well, and the hard part is I don't think you knew what it was doing to the economy. At least the housing economy. You know what I mean? Like, cool. Nothing. We're refining. Everybody's just getting better rates, and money goes from here to here, and they got a better rate. They're paying less. Cool. Like, you're not looking globally like what, or like a bird's eye view, like a Warren Buffett.
Nobody.
Because I know that movie came out. Can't remember what that movie was called.
Big Short.
Big Short.
Yeah.
And like,
great movie.
Some guys saw it and
movie.
tried to alert everyone. Other people saw it and were like, cool, so this is how we make even more money and capitalize. Super, like, not good dudes. But at your level, you're just recycling. You don't necessarily see the bigger picture of, like, the detriment to what it was doing kind of thing, right?
Clue.
Well,
and it crashes. Did you even know it was going to crash?
What?
Did you even know it was going to crash?
No, had zero clue.
It would just...
And it just started happening, right?
But guys back then...
ignorance. Nobody.
But guys back then, you had to have known... And maybe like in the refi, it was a little different because they're already homeowners. But, maybe fast forward to like 2004, 2006, when people are fabricating social security numbers and like...
But that's if he had any...
Stating their assets, getting into programs, that's a neg-am. Like, when you're in it and you're new to it...
Don't let Eli...
You couldn't foresee it personally, right?
Yeah.
There might have been people around me. But personally, right, because then that goes back to if I'd have known any better, I'd have had a little bit more saved up. I would have spent a little bit.
Yeah.
I had zero clue.
Right.
And it was like that movie, man. It was like a switch flipped, and it was just one after another. And it just progressively got worse and worse and worse. And then what we did is we just kept taking our bankroll. We just kept making our payroll.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Back to being a little bit ignorant in business.
Yeah.
You just kept taking your bankroll and paying your payroll, and eventually you had nothing left.
Yeah.
Damn.
Shut the doors.
Yep.
Valid.
Do it again.
Scott has a combat action ribbon, bro. He's pre-08.
Man, Scott's got if you guys watch right now, Scott's got a baby face, but you've been in the game since 2000?
2000.
God, dude, how the hell was I a freshman in high school in 2000? I graduated 04, bro.
Me too. 03.
That's weird,
Ticked
man.
into the 40s.
That's weird.
We're looking, dude.
Yeah.
We're talking about Gavin the other day, too. For some reason, we were talking about your birthday. For some reason, as hard as being a lender is, all you fucking lenders got all your hair. Eli and I, gone.
We were talking about that.
Yeah. That's true.
I don't believe a word they say anymore.
It's true.
Oh, bro, you know how hard it is? No, I don't know how hard it is. All I know is my hair is gone.
Real estate winning.
You know what I do for a workout? I pick something up super heavy. I yell at it, and I throw it over my shoulder.
Yeah.
And I turn around. I yell at it again, and I throw it over my other shoulder. That's how much anger and stress I have to get out before we even start dealing with clients today.
No shit.
What do you do?
No shit.
Good looking, got hair. He's like, no, I don't even work out. Just wake up like this.
Yeah.
Jerk.
He was covered in human feces about 2 hours ago, probably, though. So
we don't need to disclose how great of a daddy is.
That's that dad story.
Yeah.
We're going to get there.
Good Lord.
So it crashes. So market crashes.
Yep, market crashes.
Is this where 24 comes into play, or what does that look like?
Pretty much. I mean, when you go from having it, doing it, building it, and it's all gone, you just kind of take a step back. I mean, personally, I just traveled. I went down to Central America and just bummed around, stayed in hostels, hung out.
I keep trying to find a day when $1
Yeah.
No. All the money I made, all the money I made from these fucking idiots. Yeah, no, I didn't go to 24 quite yet. I just kept spending all that money and traveled the world. And
wish I saved more though.
Dude,
continue.
That's pretty spot on. What I did have left, I then just went and spent it. But
where was your mind at that time?
We went cheap.
Were you
confused, right? I mean, ultimately, it was a big thing, right? And I didn't see it coming, and there was a lot of people impacted. I mean, not just me, but we built a company around friends and family, and we surrounded ourselves with friends and family, and there was a lot of people that were hurt.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I mean, that was, money, right? It comes and it goes, and you can make it and replenish it, you know what I mean? But when you hurt lives of other people and, ultimately looking back on it, as if I could have foreseen any of that stuff, right, then I could have probably prevented some other people from going through an even harder time.
Well, and the other hard part,
tough.
True, but to some of the lenders' defense, right, like there was also just an economy shift. Like the economy was also crashing in addition to, maybe not simultaneously, but pretty close around the housing market crash. The economy was not in a good spot because a lot of people that kept their careers and kept their jobs and still had their house. Yeah, your house isn't worth shit right now, but you're not losing it. You're still paying for it. And then you own it for another 10 years. The market came back. They still had equity. So I think a lot of people, I could be wrong, but when they end up like having a lot of house trouble, it was primarily like their employment side that was hitting them in addition to, correct?
Yeah. Or there was no employment side that somehow.
Or they're on like one of those arm loans and like
that's what it was. I mean, everybody got and from our side of it, and it's interesting because the product and the whole industry shifted, right? Because you could put somebody into a product, and a lot of times, again, it's shitty to look back on it, but depending on which product you put them in, depending on your paycheck, so whether you're going to get rebate, so obviously we're trying to sell a product where. Is it a 30-year fixed rate mortgage? No, right? It's 2-year, 3-year ARMs, 5-year ARMs. It's negative amortization. Every time you make this minimum payment, your equity goes backwards. Like, it's crazy to think about, but those ones paid the most.
What's the pitch on that? Curious. What would convince someone to go into a 2-year ARM or whatever?
Because the payment is so low on
interest rate. At that time too, your home was appreciating $10,000 a month, $5,000 a month, at least in California, right? That's, nobody was betting against the housing industry. It was like, oh, dude, the housing industry is strong. Your home's going to continue to appreciate in a couple of years. Look at what you're saving, right?
Yeah, when your arm hits, you just refi.
Yeah, we'll get you out before it happens. The problem is those went adjustable faster than you could get out of them. But again, if you're stating somebody's income, right, and then all of a sudden, like your janitor, right, is now the vice president of janitorial services or whatever you're putting on an application. Oh my God. When they go fully amortized, clearly that income doesn't qualify for that payment, and it was shock. So what people did, just like in that movie, is they just put their keys on their counter.
See ya.
And just walked.
Yep.
So
crazy, man. Yeah. Good times, huh?
So basically, right,
So you traveled.
I traveled. I went down there, and it wasn't anything crazy.
Experiences, and
I got peanut butter in my mouth.
There's stories for
because I'm eating some organic peanut butter, but I mean,
there you go.
No, I'm good. Were you traveling or like running from people? Were you like wanted in Southern California?
Both. Right, I mean, not wanted by any means, but there was definitely, you wanted to get away from the situation. Because ultimately when it happens and you're a leader of a company, you've built this with people, and then this is impacting others, they're ultimately looking to you for advice. And when you purely just don't have it, it's like, Okay.
See, no wonder he handles us so well, man. I mean, fuck, having dealing with those phone calls.
Well, I'm pretty easy to handle.
We're a piece of cake.
Eli's hard. We're
a piece of cake. I know.
Calm.
You're calm, cool, and collected.
Structured.
More stories.
Yeah. So you're
more
traveling.
Stories, he says.
So we traveled, and it wasn't anything crazy long. It was 3-4 weeks, month top, and I went back home. But while I was doing that, I mean, it was okay. What's next, right? Ultimately. Yep. What am I going to do now? What business, what industry? And what I kept falling back on was the fact like I was trying to go and create something that I enjoyed. So out of my days or out of what my norm was, other than the industry that just crashed, like what did I enjoy doing? And it was always, I enjoyed going to the gym, right? Like, cool. So can I create a career around being in a gym, right? So in that mentality, it was like, be a personal trainer, right? That was where my mentality was. Like,
so when you went back, were you in Michigan or back to Southern California?
Back to Michigan.
Okay.
Well, at Michigan at that time, and then you had to go get your stuff and things happen. But, it was like, cool. Well, I really enjoyed the gym. I like the environment, the atmosphere. You look at a trainer and you're like, that dude looks cool, right? He gets to train people and do stuff. And, so then cool, like, where are you going to do that? No offense. I mean, there's some great things about Michigan, but you're certainly not going to go back and try to get into the gym world there. It's just different, right? So where could I go and be a trainer? Like, what's a healthy place? What's a healthy state? These things started to try to figure out what that would look like. I had a buddy that lived in Boulder. Google Denver, Colorado, Boulder. It's sunny. It's pretty. It's got mountains. It's got cool stuff. Hey, man, can I come crash on your couch for a little bit? And when I did that, I landed in Boulder. And then I just suited up and I walked around to every gym in Boulder and said, hey, this is me. This is what I'm looking to do.
I got a certification.
Who's willing to help me? I had no certs, which is why I never became a trainer.
You had a suit.
I became a trainer. I became the sales guy.
Yeah. Nice.
Right? I was on the sales side. I never got to be a trainer.
Did people's memberships, like, were they super affordable for, like, a couple of payments and then they drastically changed? Were you getting them on a refi on the payment, or how did that look?
He crushed it.
After 6 months, it changed out.
Just about.
It's a fair question.
Fair question.
So you're in Boulder. You walk around gyms. Which one did you?
Landed at 24.
Did you? Just 24 in Boulder?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah.
It's a brand new club, still being facelift on the outside. Walked in, met some people. Rest is history. Never got into the personal training side of things, right? When you got into it, because you didn't have certifications, right? You're okay. I'll be a sales guy. Well, that's one thing that I knew how to do.
So you were selling memberships and training.
All I have to do is talk to people and sell them memberships and training, like piece of cake.
You're a membership counselor.
Yeah.
Membership manager.
Membership counselor.
So was I. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, membership counselor. And so you do that thinking, okay, I'm going to move over here to this world sometime. I'm going to get trained and do things. And, the longer you're in there, you're like, cool, do I want to be a trainer or do I want to run this?
Well, you started probably seeing the business of 24-hour fitness. You probably didn't realize, like, they got a ton of locations. Oh, they need management for...
Still knew nothing about it. Nothing about it. So,
So as you grew there, you started opening your eyes to just career opportunities. You go from membership counselor to...
like an assistant membership manager, right? And you got to go to this club to go do that. And then it was be a membership manager. And you were always trying to strive to be a club manager. That was always the thing that I wanted to get to, run your own club. And ultimately for me, that meant I had to move again, right? I had to go out to Salt Lake City and hang out in Salt Lake for a year. And that's where I took my... That was horrible.
Was it?
Oh, dude, Salt Lake City. I mean, I don't want to blast anybody that has love for Salt Lake.
You're not saying... Just your experience.
Yeah. Dude, just a rough place for a guy like me to live, man. I mean, ultimately, right, I have tattoos. That's a predominantly a Mormon type place. There's a certain type of religion around it. So when you come in and you have tattoos and you enjoy a cocktail or whatever it is, I mean, they have laws against that stuff, and it's a restriction, and it's just different, man.
Like, can I get a Coca-Cola? Like,
you're so excited to be a club manager, but you miss where you just came from. So that I was only there for 1 year before I had an opportunity to go to San Francisco.
Can't believe you lasted a year there.
I can't believe that was your horrible story that you wanted to say about Salt Lake.
There's so much more about Salt Lake.
Like what?
Nah, man, it just wasn't.
I've only been once. I'll tell my story, but you got to finish yours.
Oh, that's mine, man. It was just, you found yourself in an environment where you were so excited about this new career opportunity, then you get around a culture or a surrounding of people, and you're like, man, I just don't fit in.
So you're younger then, single.
Yep.
Dating life just doesn't exist because even if a girl liked you, she couldn't take you home to dad kind of thing, or what? What do you mean?
Yeah. basically. Yeah. I mean, there are some things, right? I mean, just because that's not my religion. So even when you're trying to get to know somebody, there are some signs when you go out on that first date, right? So if you're like, hey, meet me over here at this bar, right? And they're like, oh, well, let's not go to that bar. Let's go have some milk or something.
Oh, boy.
You just gotta be open. I love milk.
Do you want some?
I fucking dude.
Do you want a Mountain Dew? Like, no, cool. I see how
water. I see how they get, dude. I see how they get guys. Because if I were out there and some girls like, hi, let's go have some milk. Like, do you want to marry me?
All right. Yeah.
Are you ready to have babies now?
I remember going to Salt Lake. I was coming from California. And we were just taking from California to Colorado, and we were going through Salt Lake's not like really on the way, but we were going just kind of like making a mini road trip. We kind of venture off the beaten path a little bit. And I remember going, and we were getting pretty close. We were like, let's just stay in a hotel. Like, we weren't going to Salt Lake to hang out in Salt Lake. They were just going and like, all right, let's look up a good hotel or whatever. And this is with not with Kate, which is a surprise. This is when I was still in the Marine Corps, and she does like mixed martial arts and stuff, and not your typical girl. We'll just call it. That's a good way to say it, right? Not your typical girl. I'm not your typical. I got tattoos. I'm pretty fit back then too, contrary to what I look like right now.
Whatever, bro. As he's flexing on the camera.
Oh, shredded, man. I was off deployments and cool. Long drive. We're getting there. It's super late at night when we pull in, and no sweat, right? Cool. So we get in. There's a lot of cars there, and it looked like a really nice hotel. Like, cool. And the guy at the desk was super friendly. Kind of like he's kind of looking back. I kind of seemed like he was maybe taken back a little bit by us because we didn't necessarily fit in.
Sure.
And you hear all the jokes about Utah and Mormon, but it's all good. It's all love, right? Because they're never mean to you. That's the thing. They might not like your kind, Scott, but they're not mean to you about it, right? So there's always like love, but you just might not necessarily fit in. He's like, hey, you guys got to have the breakfast in the morning. You know, we do an elaborate buffet. You know, talking about Marine, someone who fights for a living. Like, dude, we have appetites. Like, fuck yeah, right? Cool, right? Go to bed, wake up. We literally wake up to hit this buffet. We go down, and I can't remember what I'm wearing, man. It's probably not appropriate. No sleeves, and we're just in like workout gear. We got to work out that morning, and we go to breakfast. You know, not showered, just in your workout gear, all good, you know? And we're just grabbing food. But the amount of food that we consume might not be appropriate. So we sit at a big round table by ourselves, whatever, and just laughing and talking. And you guys know me, I can get a little loud. I think I'm just loud normally, right? I just talk.
Some might say, I think, maybe.
Right? Well, that person as well, you know, like when we get to laugh and have a good time, like, you can hear that person laugh as well, right? And I can't remember what sparked me, but and you know me, as much as I talk, I pay attention to my surroundings and what's going on even more than I run my stupid mouth.
Yeah.
And I'm watching, you know, people come in and tables are filling up, and there's like a dude and like 4 chicks and a dude and 3 chicks, and they're all sitting at tables together and proper, and I start looking around and I'm like, and they're all just looking.
Oh, yeah.
And then talking, and then looking more and talking. I promise you, dude, I felt like some of those girls had quiet despair of like,
help me,
just wanting to be a female in this other girl's shoes, with just one dude who's like fit and energetic and not sitting there all just in that environment. It looked like they had handcuffs on, and it was so. They weren't mean to us, but I felt that energy of like 45 people. Probably 45, just because one had like 3 wives instead of 4. I think it was an odd number. 45, give it maybe 47. Just looking at us. And and they weren't mean, but you could tell people were kind of looking, and then, you know, dude, like, what is that? You know, and then we're leaving, we're checking out. We ask, you know, the person at the front desk, and they had a convention there in Salt Lake. There was some type of like Mormon convention, and a lot of people were staying at this hotel and getting breakfast, and you're like, we just ran into a trap.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How was the breakfast?
Phenomenal.
Was it?
Oh,
yeah,
dude. Yeah, but they didn't have syrup.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I remember that. I don't know if it's a sugar thing or I don't know, man. I don't know what they had, but it was like a sugar-free thing, and I just remember making a joke about it, but cool.
Yeah. Maybe it like looks too sensual or something.
They're nice people, man. There's nothing to it, right? It just, you know.
Yeah.
Just wasn't for me.
Right. So you go but you and I get it, man. Like,
shit.
There is entrepreneurship in the corporate world. And what I mean is like making yourself super valuable and non-replaceable, and just being able to find a way to drive culture and sales and passion into a gym and create where they go, hey man, even if we do downsize or we can't get rid of that guy. There is a way, and it's important for listeners to know that, because if you're not the type to want to be a full-on entrepreneur, but you do like certain things about it, being creative, there is a place in corporate, and there is a place for in some bigger companies where you do have a little bit of leeway to be yourself, and to lead teams and to generate sales and to generate production out of a company where they want to continue to move you up. But part of it is, hey, sometimes when you go to a gym and it's your first one, that gym needs help. And they have the younger guy with some energy to just get in there and get it done. So what was the reason for going there? And you were there a year, and then what took you out of there?
Yeah, I was there a year. My district manager and I just built a really good relationship. He was the one guy that not only was it, mentoring me through that business side of stuff, but we just built a good friendship. And
Do
then
I know
eventually,
him?
No.
Okay.
But he eventually moved on, right? So again, 24 kind of said, hey, man, we need you to go over here. Very similar to like, hey, we need you to go help fix this club. They would take district managers and say, hey, we need you to go fix this district. So they took him out to San Francisco. And when that happened, it was just, there was just this look, right? Like he already knew my feelings of Salt Lake and my surroundings. So when he was like, hey, man, I'm going to San Francisco, I was kind of like, hey, I wish you luck. Good luck, man. Knowing
you are going,
I didn't even ask him, right? And I knew
he's like,
within maybe a couple weeks, I'd get a phone call, and sure enough,
cool.
Right, got a
because he's going, he's fixing a district. You're gonna need he's gonna need a manager at one of those gyms.
Gonna want somebody at one of those gyms.
And dude, that's part of it, man. Just like with anything else, you want to fight camps or anything else, man. Like good dudes, or same with us, man. Like in real estate. Good guys that do good work, whether it's on the general contracting or painters or whatever. Like you want to bring them across every deal because it's a good system. 100%. So how was San Francisco?
Loved it. San Francisco was a blast. Like I loved being in San Francisco. And
why?
Big, small city.
How was the dating life?
A lot of diversity. I didn't have any success in any of those cities as if did my dating life. We'll fast forward past San Francisco to when I met my wife. That's when I had success, right? I don't know, right? It's getting used to a big city.
That was a gay joke, by the way.
Living
hey, San Francisco, how's your day?
I missed that.
I didn't actually care. I was just trying to.
That one completely over my
head.
We don't see boundaries around here on this side of the table, Will.
I can tell you some stories about some districts over there, but
we'll
leave those alone.
For now.
Yeah.
For the record, we love Mormons. We love gay people.
Of course. People know, man. We're fucking idiots. You know what's great about our audience, too, man? People know that, man. We're here to have some fun and talk it out. We're fucking idiots. Don't take anything at face value.
Yeah, San Francisco was cool. A lot of fun. A lot of great times. A great city. If no one's ever been, you should definitely go. You guys have been. I know you probably enjoyed that.
We had a great time there
for sure. Awesome city, right? So you just kind of
slept in the same bed.
Submerge
in San
yourself.
Coincidentally,
that too.
Oh my God, bro! Don't say that when I'm eating a piece of apple.
Sorry,
gagging on this thing. God, that's the worst sound to make when you mention everybody that we slept together and I make a gagging noise. We'll get to that when I'm done with this drink.
We love San Fran. Yeah.
So you're out there for how long?
1 year. Another 1 year stint, right? So you're out there again. Loved the city, loved a lot of things about it, but ultimately, it always circled back to it just wasn't home. It just wasn't where you ultimately wanted to be. So even by going to Salt Lake, my first intention was like, cool, I'm going to go out there and just like I've done at every other club, I'm going to prove that I can do what I have to do. So I'm going to prove it, and then eventually maybe Denver will come calling again, and I'll come back, right? And so,
had you been to Denver before?
Boulder. Not as a club manager.
Yeah.
So I was membership manager and
Boulder.
stuff. So So, right. Again, same thing, right? Ultimately, opportunity came about, and spot opened up in Denver, and of course, right. I mean, as great as San Fran was, and how much fun I had out there, and how cool that city is, and all the things that you can do, it just wasn't where I wanted to be longevity wise.
Colorado felt more like home.
Colorado was where it was.
What was it? What was it then like? And this is important too. As much as we're joking around, this is important as far as like when you want to venture off and be in a certain industry and having the confidence to leave your state if it's needed,
right?
And go like, hey, cool, I want to be a trainer, be in fitness,
right?
You'd be spinning your wheels in Michigan for your opinion, and there might be people in Michigan who go, hey, you're wrong, you could have done this. Doesn't matter.
You certainly could have.
You felt that.
Yeah,
and if you feel something, you feel there's this bigger opportunity elsewhere.
Yeah.
Your energy and your belief in what you're doing and where you're doing it at are huge, right? So there is no wrong when you're trying to make those decisions for yourself. And if you moving somewhere else is going to make you 100% dive in and commit and have no safety nets, it's important. And then when you get to Denver, out of everywhere else that you had gone, because you had done Southern California before as a lender, and then you've done these other places with 24. What about Denver or Boulder that was so important to you?
Yeah, I mean, ever since I left Michigan, you know, and I have a lot of love from where I grew up, but ultimately that state, that Midwest, it just wasn't for me. And so, yeah, going to SoCal and going to Denver and Salt Lake and San Fran, Denver is just that environment that we know and love. I mean, we have beautiful weather, we have the mountains. I had already built it and established. I was out here for 8 years before I took off to Salt Lake. So I'd already established friendship and people that I knew, like, and trust. And so, you know, you just always wanted to go back. You know, I mean, there's a lot of great things that the state has with just our surroundings, but it was also that, right, that relationship-based type thing, right? You always want to go back to be close to your friends and your family.
So you're doing, like, the membership counseling and then other, like, management positions within Denver with 24.
Yeah, so when I got, membership counselor, then you just kind of climb the ranks, right? Assistant membership manager, and then again, for me to go from that membership to club manager, my opportunity was Salt Lake.
Yeah, and that was,
so I had bounced around,
but
like
that's 8
6
years.
clubs.
Yeah. I want people to understand that, because just like in a bigger company, when you want to go make something for yourself and move up, which you did great at, it's also the same like entrepreneurship.
Same thing.
Yeah. Like pick your poison. Like, shit don't happen overnight.
Right. Yeah. Same thing with entrepreneurship. You have a want, a desire, right? A drive. You have a goal. Yeah. Right? My goal was to be a club manager, so I was going to do anything I needed to do, which, hey, if it meant move to Salt Lake City and give it a whirl, right? And when I looked at Salt Lake City, you know, I'm, again, back to just being naive in certain things. When you look back at it, you Google it, right? You Google it. It's like, oh, cool. This is a pretty little city nestled next to the mountains. It looks a lot like Denver, right? And you get there and it just, okay, you should have read instead of looked at pictures, right?
Maybe.
I mean, that's the moral.
But the problem is, but you and I both know, the problem is when you're going for companies like that, if you say no to an opportunity, they
might not get it again.
Yeah. If you say yes to an opportunity, they remember that. If you say no to an opportunity, they remember that. And it all comes down to like keeping your priorities straight and like, man, sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
If you try to read more into that, and then now you're making a decision based off of your personal likes versus your career choices that are going to push you forward and ultimately got you back to where you wanted to be as a manager. I wonder if it would have worked out. So sometimes less is more, and sometimes, man, like, dude, like, for example, shooting. We're going to go shooting soon in August. You're going to fucking love it. I'll talk about that too. Super great gift. Gift as in just even being considered to go to this thing through a friend of ours, big brother of ours, is phenomenal. A little pricey. So when I mean gift, we're still paying for the trip, but just to even be slotted for this trip, dude, it's phenomenal. Huge. We'll try to get some content from it. I don't think we can in the range, but just the overall experience. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll just absorb it. But back to shooting. Believe it or not, you know, like once you've kind of like learned to shoot and whatnot, like people shoot way better at night than they think they're gonna. Right? And it's because you have less things around you that you're paying attention to and distracted by versus muscle memory, sight alignment, sight picture. You got night sights on your pistol, your rifle, and there's no distraction. You're applying fundamentals.
Yeah.
That's huge in business too. Like, so maybe you reading into that would have been a distraction because now you think that you're not going to fit in, or, well, maybe the dating world's not going to be good, or if I go to a bar, it's by myself. Who fucking cares? Yeah. None of that has any validity to what you want for your career. So again, almost like shooting at nighttime. Like sometimes within business, less is more. And I think one of the most dangerous times as an entrepreneur, or even moving up like that, is when we start becoming a little successful. I think that's worse when you're brand new. When you've gotten some success and you start getting a little cocky, a little comfortable, you got a couple wins under your belt, and you start slightly losing perspective of like what got you there in the first place, and being okay to still do that grunt work. You know what I mean? And like, man, those are just important tools of like, hey, yeah, I went out of state because it was good for my career. By the way, it also took me 8 years just to get to that opportunity in the first place.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, especially
for some of our young listeners, you know, like on iTunes and Spotify. Man, that's so important. Which is also why it's so important to be passionate about what you're doing, and also passionate about succeeding. Because I promise you, there's days, no matter how much you love your industry, there's days that suck. There's calls I've made to you, and you're like, fuck that guy. I'm sure we'll get to those. There's other days of just long paperwork or a hard client that just needs a little bit more attention, whatever it is. There's days that are not fun, but you still have perspective on your own integrity and your want of having a good name for yourself and doing a good job, your passion for the industry that you're in the first place, you know, and just having the ability to keep those in perspective so you don't go off the fucking rails. Such valuable lessons, man.
Yeah, so I was dialed in on wanting to be a club manager. So when I got it, it was great, and then when I got back to Colorado, it was great. So then I got there and I was like, man, I'm there. But then you get settled in, right, and you start running clubs and everything is fine, and eventually you start your mind wanders and you're like, okay, cool. So I'm at a club manager. So what's that next level? So whether it's entrepreneurship or even just in 24, you're like, well, what's the next level? 24 always had this weird rule that if you wanted a promotion, whether you were on the entry-level rankings or on a club manager, you would always have to go to a different club, right? So if you wanted to go from a membership manager to a club manager, you couldn't do it within your own club because your peers already see you differently. So you have to leave, right? So, you can go from a membership manager to like a club manager within the state. Again, my journey took me out of state. But even if you wanted to go from a club manager to a district manager, they would pretty much push you outside of the state.
Well, you had to because there's less districts and gyms.
Yeah, and I mean, even if a spot opened up, right, they still wouldn't want a peer to kind of, and it happened, don't get me wrong, it's not to say it doesn't, but that was kind of the norm. But then I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to leave again, right? I don't want to take that chance again. I took the chance, I got where I wanted to be, but I don't want to leave and go to another state.
When you got to Colorado running a gym, was that Parker and Quincy?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So and how long were you there?
A couple of years, I think. Yeah. So you got there for a couple years, and you started to want to go be a district manager, and then you realized you didn't want to leave, so you keep grinding in your own club, and then what eventually happens is you get stagnant, right? And what had happened was, man, you grind, you bust your butt, you turn clubs around, you do all of these things, and you work your butt off, but your check is always the same. And bottom line is I don't own this club, right?
So this is the other part about
this is how the step out of 24 comes into play, because eventually you realize that if I went anywhere else that I had an opportunity to get paid for the effort and the work that you put into it, then what does that look like?
You can see, just like in the police world, right? You can see your future. You can see district guys. You're a club manager. You can see the job of a district guy. You're probably learning it already.
Yeah.
Because your district guy's probably teaching you if he's a good dude. And you also know their pay. And then you got to go, is a district guys, minus the anomalies, right? Like if there's a couple just super large districts and that district manager never goes anywhere because it's San Diego or something super important.
Sure.
That guy's just staying there, right?
Yep.
But then you got to look at like, okay, what's the pay difference between club manager, leaving the state, leaving whatever, having even more responsibility, sometimes having to be a club manager and be a district manager because this one doesn't have a club manager because we fired him. So now you're doubling up on work to just kind of keep things together while you're rebuilding a district. How much more pay is involved?
Yeah.
I don't think it's that significant from that to that, is it?
I don't really know.
No? That's what I
don't think it's that big of a difference. It's not like you're doubling anything.
No, so the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So you decided to, then you started getting thoughts of like maybe doing something else, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it just got to a point, I think just everything just slowly started happening for whatever reason it started happening, right? Yeah. I mean, there was, in my personal world, boredom started to get set in, right? Yeah. Complacency, and if you're in an environment where you're there to serve others, and then you start to get to a point where you don't care about the others, and not that you don't care,
you're just going through the motions.
Man, I can work as hard as I possibly want to, or as little as I possibly want to, and nothing changes, right? Yeah. So, what am I doing, right? And then just through happenstances that some people left and got into the real estate industry, and said, hey, come along, come do things, and I just wasn't ready yet, so I just kept waiting and buying my time, and I wasn't committed.
What was it that was holding you back, especially after having experience in that already?
I know what it is.
Oh.
He didn't want to leave me. I was next door.
Probably, yeah. With the exception of that, was there anything else that might have been holding you back?
Might have been.
Yeah. I know.
There's fear in that, right?
So, Will, what was it that was really keeping Scott from...
something I really... This is definitely one.
Then I do actually want your answer.
Sure.
So I'm going to answer for you.
Yeah.
This is definitely one. If I'm wrong, I'll walk off. Okay. I won't walk off. But if I'm wrong, I'll buy you a beer.
I'll pretend I walk off.
Something I admire about Scott is like, he does take his time with decisions. Even because we're going to get into like his decisions. Him and I were talking a lot about where he was at as a lender. We're going to get to that here in just a little while. And he had a couple of different options, but he was weighing his life.
Yeah.
Certain things had priority. Sometimes he just kind of like wants to let a storm kind of calm down and seek through. And I tend to be very spontaneous. I tend to be very like, I think about a lot of stuff. So I'm actually very similar. I do think a lot about a decision. I just don't vocalize it. I'm just paying attention. But then when I feel it, I act. Versus Scott, he might talk about it sooner and get people's thoughts. But something I do admire about it is like, man, he does kind of like take his time and look at all angles. And then after he's done looking at every angle, he still gives it time to make sure that the angles he was looking at it from are appropriate. Am I right?
Yeah.
Could be part of it.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it, and I think that comes with time, right? That's time and understanding that in the previous worlds that I had been in and careers that I've been in, I've been very quick to just make fast decisions. You know, like, hey, there's a squirrel, like I'm gonna go, I'm gonna do something. Hey, there's San Diego, cool. I went out there on an 8-hour trip. Like I flew in, I saw palm trees, I saw the beach, I heard I could make money, and I was out, gone, right? Yeah. So. Yeah, and then the other component is you have a little bit of security and comfort in the world that you're in, right? It's what you know, it's what you're used to, it's what you're comfortable with, right? So to say, hey, I'm going to take you out of this environment that you probably can't get back into. If you leave, you're probably gone, right?
You can't leave 24 and go back, bro.
I'm going to take you out of this environment. I'm going to put you into, 100% commission type environment that you know nothing about, even though you're
the guys you knew were still super new at it. It's
new.
Almost like they weren't even in a place to pitch it quite yet.
Well, in your last experience, so you got out of the mortgage industry completely in what year?
2008.
2008, you were out completely.
Done.
And so so you left at the bottom, right?
At the bottom.
And then it had just been climbing up. So there's probably a little bit of hesitancy.
It started to rebound and recover, and doing things. And at that point too, I was very disconnected from the mortgage and real estate, industry. It wasn't my world anymore, right? My world was like 24 in fitness, so I was disconnected, and then others got kind of back into it as we start to see that real estate turned and things started happening, right? It wasn't because I sought it out. It wasn't because I was keeping my nose to the grind and listening to things in the industry. No, it just happened to come back my way. And so you don't make the move quickly. You think about it. You're gonna step out of your comfort zone. You're gonna go, 100% commission type environment, and you're either going to trust that fact or you're not, right? So it just took me a little longer to get there, but no offense to the industry, right? I just didn't see myself as a real estate agent, right? And that's, I don't drive very well, and I have road rage, and I couldn't see myself out there, right?
Yeah. I don't picture you as a road rage type of dude.
But you'd also, to your defense, you'd been a lender before. You know what I mean? So you can kind of fall back on. You had some knowledge.
Yeah, I definitely had that knowledge. It definitely felt comfortable. So as individuals started leaving 24, and that was the uniqueness of how it worked, is more and more of my peers started leaving 24 to go be real estate agents, right? And cool, like go for it, all for it. I just kept sitting back and watching it kind of unfold, and then boom, then it kind of dawned on me the opportunity to kind of step back on the mortgage side. And so at that stage of the game, it was like, this makes a lot more sense because I have a bunch of buddies
as agents.
Like that makes me feel more comfortable, right? So how do I make this transition? Who do I go learn from? What's that next step look like? Then it started to make more sense.
How was that? Just going back into, not necessarily relationships per se, but just getting back into, you obviously had to retest.
Oh, yeah.
You had to study.
I didn't even test the first time around. San Diego, I had no test.
That's awesome. You're such a
You
fucking
just found
cowboy.
some broker that had a license, and
here you go.
Our dude was like 80-some years old and just had his license. He didn't care what we did.
So
I had to take a test.
Weekend at Bernie's or whatever, and like their friend's dead, and they just keep bringing him everywhere.
That's like signing shit for him.
Some dead guy. They brought a taxidermist in, like they just stuffed the fucking old dead guy in the office. His door's always closed. His light's always on.
That's pretty close to it.
It is, man. Joking, dude, man. Mortgage industry back then and that's not just your company. You don't work for just some weird shitty company. That was the industry.
That's crazy.
Shit show.
So
man. You got back, so you studied. You had to get going.
You had to get licensed. You had to study. I went into it really cocky. I mean, the transparency is that it took me 3 times to pass my test, and our license is different than yours, right? If I don't make it the first time, you have to wait 30 days. If you don't make it that time, you wait 30 days. If you don't pass it your 3rd time, you wait 6 months.
Ouch.
So that 3rd time,
I got it on.
We know a couple guys.
I got it on my 3rd shot.
We know a couple guys that took their real estate like 7.
You can take it as many times as you want.
Yeah, it still costs you money.
Sure,
but
you can gain that back.
We know a couple. Dude, we know a couple guys that did. They took it like 7 times, and they're like, "Hey, who cares? I just got to get in the game."
Yeah. So the concept was is, it was still nerve wracking. You still had to make the leap, but you had a little bit more confidence knowing that you had some people on the other side that were gonna, make sure you had some deals.
Yeah.
You know, get you started. But you still had to relearn everything because everything had changed. All the rules, all the guidelines, and
or
again,
just having rules in general.
I was heavy. I was heavy refi.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't doing purchases. I didn't know a purchase contract from anything. I was just crushing refis, 99%. Right.
Yeah.
So you had to learn that piece of it. And so I was pointed into like 3 directions. Right, like, hey, you could maybe go talk to this guy, go talk to that one or this one. And so I went, and I chose to go work for one of them, and I lasted in his office for about a week. And the guy was cool. I think the company was fine. It was all good, man. I just, when you get into an environment that is not going to be longevity. It was quick for me to go, okay, hey, thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it, but I got to go. I cannot do this one more day. And thankfully that happened, right? Because I found myself with someone else, right? And so we all know that, right? Andy Jorgensen is a mentor in my business and, personal good friend. And,
I love that dude.
Right? How can you not?
He was talking to us at your birthday.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey guys, hey, like I'm watching and like, what you guys do is really cool. It's really cool. But
like, how does it make you money?
So it makes you money, right? Yeah, it makes us a lot of money. You know me. Makes us a lot of money. Like, yep. And he was being so polite. But what he was trying to say was like, hey, what's the formula? What's the ROI? Like, what is
He's how got many his calculator out right now,
podcasts or how many videos equals how many? And it's like, man,
that's the LO in us, right?
That's why this works because what's the ROI on being a good fucking dude, man? Like, you don't know, but just putting out value, And this is like, again, back to shooting. I talk a lot about it, about like front, like sight alignment, sight picture, front sight tip. When you're shooting, you're not focused on your target, right? Your sight alignment, your sight picture should be good, and you've checked that. But then once you're preparing to take a shot, you're focused on your front sight tip, and that brings itself, right? You present that into center mass of a target, and you can see the target, but it's out of focus. Your tip is in focus, and this is how you start shooting properly. So I was talking to him about like, man, we have goals, right? Of that big goal of like a certain amount of transactions or whatever maybe, but we're focused on integrity and honesty and value of, if we're doing videos or we're bringing value. We're not asking people to work with us. We're not telling people we're realtors. They already know that.
Right.
What we're trying to do is every time we open our mouth is be valuable with it. And
or
that attracts people. So we still have that big goal in mind. Yeah. We're focused on the front side tip and where that. And he's like, yeah, I know. Like, and you're like,
still need to track it. Yeah.
Such a cool dude, man. Just for him to even like talk to us. Yeah. As successful as he's been and whatnot.
Right.
Really
like,
cool,
so
man.
Couldn't have asked for a better scenario for whatever reasons my path crossed with his. And, now I find myself, in his office. I mean, we shared an office. It wasn't like you go down the hall. Cool. It's like, no, like I'm sitting there and I'm cranking. Dude's right behind me, so I just sat there and listened to him on the phone, sat there and watched him for as long as I possibly could sit there and watch him, and I couldn't have asked for it because what he taught me was, I think first and foremost, which is how to do deals, right? How to look at them, how to structure them, how to, get your head wrapped around the rules, the guidelines, the regulations, all these things. Look at something from a bird's eye point of view and just make it work, right? So, a lot of good value that I took from him, I think you can go out there and you can be as charismatic and you can build relationships and you can do a lot of things and get people to like you and send you stuff, right, and get you to do deals. But if you can't get them done, dude, right, they'll eventually figure that out, right? Your longevity in that game is not going to be.
You have to be
great.
able to perform, man.
You do, and something that's fun about real estate is, typically, right, on average, you're going to be around somebody for 30 days. On average, that's
client, client.
Sometimes it's longer,
sure.
Right? Like if it's just not the right time for them to buy, or they're going to sell a bit later, and whatever it may be.
Sure.
And I love that about real estate because it gives you time to build value, but it also gives a client enough time to realize like whether you're full of shit or not. Yeah. And a lot of people in our industry, especially on the real estate side, man, like they're so concerned with like where to find a deal.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Right. And believe it or not, like finding a deal per se is not as hard as they keep making it. It's how well do you manage and advise, and how well are you dialed in at being a professional and being that subject matter expert in your lane to actually advise them in a way where you do manage your stressors and you are planning for the future before certain phases even happen. And when there is a problem, you've got a solution on how to handle something. That's more important than going out and getting your client. Because if you want to go out there and buy a ton of leads or put yourself out there through social media and you're not prepared to do the job, the worst thing that could happen to you is you get exposure. Because now, man, like the exposure you're going to get is people are going to not work with you.
Yeah.
And just understanding, like, instead of hunting and looking for a client, how do I get clients to be attracted and come to me? And this is where knowing your craft, and if you're on social media, whatever you're doing, building value, doing classes and building value with your peers, guys like yourself, of finding good lenders and working with them and being committed to them. And when you do have an audience, building value, not just reminding them that you're an agent. People come when it's right, and consistency is huge, right? Because buying homes, it's not the most exciting thing to look at on social media, right? But when you need it's important. It's kind of like brakes and oil changes, man. Like, they're not fun. That's not the fun part of having a car. It's not rims. It's not speakers. It's not a flashy wrap. But when you need an oil change or brakes, they're important all of a sudden, and you want to know, and you want to know everything about it. So being consistent on your platforms with knowledge when it is the right time for people to look. And you're constantly top of mind because you've been building value, they trust that you're going to do a good job. And when they see you more, people tend to flock to you that feel like they're going to work well with you. And once him and I were doing that, that's where we don't have any problems with.
That's how we have to do business, man. Like, we can't do that outbound shit. Like, him and I, like, we're like, I don't know, man. Like, we like working with certain people. We adapt super well to where we can work with anybody, but it's like, I feel like
you can do anything.
We prefer to work with certain people.
Sure.
You know, and it's
100%.
like yesterday we just had a guy call in from our YouTube channel, and we were answering the phone,
cool.
literally joking from the first 10 seconds with each other, you know, about who he likes better and stuff like that.
He said me for the record.
And he's
like, Will, my man, for you.
He's like, Will, you got your sight on me now?
Yeah, I just said that, or I can't remember who was who. Close enough.
Yeah.
We'll just lean to the side of me.
But yeah, man, but instantly there's that rapport. He knows us. You know, we know we're going to vibe well. It just makes business fun at that point. 100%. Kind of like you getting into it with your friends, you know, when they were helping you out or whatever. Probably not helping you out much, but when you got into it.
Well, that was a big attractive piece to it.
It's something,
right?
Here.
It's doing things with people you know, like, and trust. And I'm going to circle back to the very end of this entire podcast with that. But, you know, I mean, that was the attractive piece. And, you know, understanding that, yeah, I had experience in the industry before, but that didn't really mean anything anymore. Right? That experience doesn't mean shit anymore. So it's out the window. And I had to step back. I had to humble myself, right? I had to take the cocky out of me, and I had to go, cool, I'm going to let this dude that I think is cool. I know he's smart, right? This is a 30-year wily vet in the industry, so he's made it through, you know, all the good and the bad times, you know, and I just sat back and shut up and just learned, you know. So I sat student, man, 100%. So I just sat there and understanding that I have to hone my skill and my craft. And I'm in this industry, we all are, that it's constantly changing rules and guidelines and regulations. Everything changes constantly. You know what I mean? So you have to be on top of that. But if you don't have the fundamentals and the basics of what you're doing and actually enjoy doing that, then, you know, you're not going to go anywhere. And truthfully, like, it sounds weird, but like, I enjoy loans. Like, I enjoy taking an application, putting it in the system, cranking that up first thing in the morning before the sun comes up, before my kids are up, right? Or when they go to bed, middle of the night, just trying to figure it all out and make it work. And when I get to that point and that aha moment that I made it happen, for some reason that's cool.
I could see the appeal, man.
Lenders, it's a puzzle.
Lenders have a bunch of tools,
especially
in their
for some of our clients.
Between loan products and underwriters and all that shit, man. Lenders have a lot of tools in the toolbox if you know what those tools are and when to use a screwdriver and when to use a fucking hammer.
100%.
Look, man, look at NASCAR. You know how many rules are on those cars? Tire pressure, type of oil, I mean, those cars,
everything is regulated.
Minus your fucking stickers. That also, by the way, the car has to weigh
a certain amount.
The same. So cool, you can have a different paint job and different stickers. Better be the same weight, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Why do some guys win way more than others?
Right.
I mean, the car is about exactly the same as you can make it. Same thing in lending, man. Like, sometimes people fish a lot and they're chasing a rate. Okay. The actual process of this loan and getting this not only to closing, but proficiently, securely, in the same way it was spoken to you from the beginning at the end. Dude. And a lot of people say that, like, it's just a rate. Like, everything else is the same. Like, there are laws and rules and regulations that are very similar. There are a lot of similar promotions that are out there that different lenders are giving at the same time and kind of equal the same. But who you're working with, dude, it matters so much. The communication, just winning deals. You know how many times we win a deal? Dude, we list a lot of homes. You know how many times we get offers through our emails and we haven't gotten a phone call from a realtor or a lender?
Yeah.
But for some reason, you think I'm going to take your offer, which I will. I'm legally supposed to. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll present it to the client.
I'll present it.
But if you think a client or a realtor is going to feel that your level of communication or commitment to this deal, when this is like the one time you're supposed to show good face, that you're going to communicate and execute the next 30 to 45 days appropriately without hiccup, you're out of your mind.
No.
If I can't get your lender to, because here's the other deal. Lender letters. Yeah, Microsoft Word, you can put whatever on it. Like if a realtor, even if a realtor does call me, here's the offer, here's a lender letter. Okay. I still don't just take that at face value, because I'm thinking like, yeah, you're taking a client out, they're approved from 350 to 400 max and whatever. But if taxes are different, if something's changed, I need to hear it from the lender that they're good to go. And I want to make sure that the lender knows, just in case a realtor is not speaking up and they're thinking that everyone's just going to get the email.
Yep.
I want to let that lender know, like, hey, man, here's where we're at.
It all matters.
Be aware of this deal. And how many times deals
you can dig a lot out of a lender when you talk to them too. You can uncover a lot of things like, hey, this deal looks good, your letter looks pretty, but I just learned some things out of that conversation.
And just getting a good vibe and just how prepared, like you start asking specifics about the client. Are they prepared to answer those specifics about the client? Or do you have too many? Or you just, you work for a bank. Nothing against that, but a bank's primary role is not lending on homes. Okay, it's to be a bank. So if you don't know anything about your client, but I got a lender letter from you and you just weren't prepared for some of my questions that are not super hard if you know your client. Yeah. It doesn't make it look good compared to some of the other offers. Sure. But this is where some of that we talk about, man, some of the hard work and I'm guessing you probably learned a lot of that from Andy.
Yeah.
And your intuition is good. Your commitment and execution, you're just one of those guys that gets it. But I'm guessing there's a lot of value behind that, of just seeing how someone ran the game.
100%. I mean, again, right, this is a guy that's been around and doing it and have seen everything for 30 years. And, you have an opportunity. And, again, everything is hindsight when you look back on it. But, man, for whatever reason, I ended up in his office, right? And now I look back and talk about how thankful I am for it and how appreciative I am for it. And, not even understanding what it was about to, because the real goal was to go and learn from someone and then go start something somewhere else, right? So it was supposed to.
You don't say.
Yeah, to go start something somewhere else. And, inevitably when that didn't go that direction of leaving Jorgensen or leaving Guild and going somewhere, again, it starts, whatever the uniqueness that our paths take us down, right, is I just stayed, right? I just stayed in his office and I stayed working and I stayed learning. And, I did that for a year and a half, a year and a little over a half. And till it kind of got to the point where it was like, cool, I got this, or at least I got enough of it to know that I want to kind of venture out on my own. I don't want to go too far from you, right? Yeah. But I want to go out on my own.
Same company,
same company, same everything, same office.
It's a little more independence.
Office building, different office. I actually had an own one at that point, but I was a loan partner one, so my job was to, nurture his relationships that he had built and work on loans and put deals in pipelines and stuff. But it wasn't my business, it was his, and that's how you learn, right? That's the same thing. What I'm doing is bring somebody on, get them into the industry, let them learn, let them grow.
Here's Will. Nurture that.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. And I want to make point too, man, as far as like just the business side of like entrepreneurship and some of these golden nuggets that you're throwing out.
Yeah.
Because we're in such a new era of like social media and scalability, and some people are like devaluing how important like veterans of an industry can really be. I'm not saying now time is not always justice. Just because you've been around 30 years does not mean you have 30 years of experience,
correct.
Right? I've seen 100%. That in law enforcement. I've seen it in the Marine Corps. Hey, no, you don't have 30
real estate.
You have 1 year of experience that you've done 30 times.
Yes.
Okay, like I'm not learning from you, but there are legitimate men and women out there that do a great job, and youngsters coming in because they think this is social media and you got to scale and you got to get all this attention. Here's the deal. It still boils down to people and relationships. And these guys and girls that were successful prior to social media, where it was relationships and not doing a good job for someone mattered, and they've been able to build something this successfully and have that many relationships and manage it. There's so much to learn from that. And I promise you, as much as the transactions that we've done, not one of them was ever absent of having to nurture a relationship and manage people's emotions and take care of them. Now, if you want to go reach people, social media and that's fine. You still got to learn. Eventually, you're going to have to meet them and work a deal. And you're going to want to. People want. I don't care how convenient social media is and Amazon is. There's some great things like in Amazon. Yeah, I don't need the guy packing my box. Just pack the shit and send it, and I get it in an hour. Cool. real estate and super important, expensive transactions that are convoluted, as much as they're trying to streamline that in our industry right now, you can't take the people and the relationships and the trust that builds out of it, man.
No,
it's super huge. So I'm sure a guy like Andy was huge on like how he built when he did, because not only did he not have social media, like you had to rely on these word of mouth and these relationships to just do a great job. And there was a lot of pro to that, because if you got your word around prior to social media, you had less competition, I guess, per se.
Yeah.
But if you messed up and someone was not vouching for you, that could hinder you extremely.
Yep. Agreed.
Good dude. I like that guy.
Yeah. So it was great, right? I mean, I got, probably the best training you could ask for. And, I got to this stage where it was time to kind of go and do my own thing. And I didn't go far from the nest, but, I stayed close to him. And, but then again, right, you just keep wanting to grow and build and progress. And that's ultimately, we were up in Broomfield doing that. And I knew I wanted to get, closer to more, right? So whatever that more looks like, whether it's
me,
more knowledge, more experience, bigger business, whatever it is.
What did you think, man, when you saw me at that brokerage? I'm like, dude, where you been? You fucking work here or not? You remember seeing me that day?
I do remember that day.
I had a tie on.
I was going to say, I remember the suit and tie day.
Dude, I do this.
Or at least the tie day.
Listen,
I remember our meeting in Starbucks, which was when you were starting to make your realization that, right, you were going to try to go somewhere and do something. And I think that's right when you kind of got connected with Eli and Berkshire and did your thing. I remember all that.
I just need to make known, I wear these neutral clothes just so I'm not painful. Because when I put that tie on, dude,
it's dangerous, man.
Dangerous.
No, I actually had the opposite. Dude, I had people people didn't care for me in dress clothes. I look like a fucking CIA agent, man. Look, I was coming to investigate you. Remember Travis?
I do.
Good dude.
Yeah.
I take him out.
Your guys' video always pops up every once in a while on Facebook, correct?
No, not that Travis. Other Travis. Buyer Travis. Sipes.
Yep.
I remember showing him some homes on the weekend one time. And I was like, hey, dude, he saw something last minute, wanted to see. I was like, cool. He's like, no, we can see it on Monday. I was like, no, dude. The market's busy right now. We need to go see it right now if you like it.
Right.
I was like, let me just drop the family off and I'll come to you.
Yeah.
And I had jeans on and like a flannel, it was fall time or whatever. And I get there and he's like, oh man, it's about time.
That was the aha.
And I was like, dude, I'm not fucking late. And he goes, no, man, you finally took that suit off.
Normal.
He's like, you're scaring me out here, man. Thinking you're coming to investigate me. And and I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, man. I'm like, hey, dude. And then I started thinking like, oh shit. As much as I like dress clothes and it looks good, like don't get me wrong, I was very friend and like sphere heavy. Yeah. A lot of people knew me from like law enforcement and Fit Republic and just being in like t-shirts, but being professional but more casual. And like I'm a bigger guy. I had no idea that like when I put on a suit and tie, like it was an even bigger presence. And people knew me from a casual environment. All of a sudden when I put a suit on, it looked or gave them the feeling of like, oh, he's gonna pitch me something. Versus just keeping it cool. So I actually stopped wearing that stuff, not because I don't like it. And I was like, let me just try. Because I'm big, you know me, dude. Like I'm a big thinker. I'm big on like psychology and just emotional responses from people. So when he said that, I'm like, all right, he said that because he's comfortable to say it. I've known Travis since high school. He's comfortable to say that to me. How many other people am I talking? You know what I mean? Right. So I started to kind of make that change a little bit. Eli dressed more casual when him and I were linking up. And I started doing it. And I was being the same dude, but just paying strict attention. People were paying way more attention to what I had to say and the message I was delivering versus what I was wearing. Or they didn't have a guard up thinking like, man, I know Will from Fit. Like, I already trust the guy. What's he wearing this for?
Yeah. You know you're like a different person.
Like, putting a suit on.
What are you doing?
It was almost like putting a wall up.
Yeah.
It was almost restricting my client's ability to listen to me because they thought I was selling them something.
Yeah. This is a relationship game, right? They already have the relationship with you. Dude. You already know, like, and trust this guy.
So I took it off.
Yeah. You don't need to impress me with your shirt.
Correct. And, tie. And dude, some guys love wearing suits, and if it works for them,
it's funny. I started in suit and tie too.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah, but sometimes just, the environment matters, and I'm not against suits, right? Like if it works for you, you look cool. But for me, like making that change, dude, I venture over to Eli. Man, I'm months in at this point, and I have 5 under contract that next month. Some of those people who were kind of like on the fence a little bit, but then I got in person, had some conversations, and you can say it was just ironic, or I don't say it. I say like the way I chose to present myself and how people expected to see me. It's just way better for me.
For sure.
Way better. Yeah. But I remember seeing you come through, He gave me a big old hug. What's up, man? I was like,
remember it too.
What do you mean, what's up? I thought the only reason I'm here is because of you, bro. You're not here? You know, like watching them Bulls, right? Like, and you finally get to go to a Bulls game. You're like, nah, man. Jordan plays for the Wizards, bro.
What the hell?
He's over there. And you're like,
what happened?
Fuck these Bulls, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Like, and, you know, that was pretty cool. And
funny.
Yeah, man. What were your thoughts on that? Like when I was first kind of getting started, like what is it? Not just me. I'm not that important. Just people in general. Why were you okay to like have so much energy behind helping me? Was it that you had saw me grow a company? Was it that you had some trust in my work ethic and or whatnot? Or like because some of those, man, we had to go out on a limb. I mean, there was a lot of fucking work, man.
There was
a lot. Well,
that
work.
goes back to right, like the why behind it is we already had an established relationship, right? So the seeing you in the office and the big hug, right? That was just genuine. That was just, I didn't give a shit about anything. I was just good to see you, right?
Yeah.
So here's a hug. What's up? Good to see you. And then just like Andy in my career or me and anybody else's, right? If you have opportunity to lend guidance or help, and even at that stage of the game, I was still learning my craft, right? I was still going through training or trying to figure it out. But why wouldn't I?
Man, I threw you some ducks.
You said, "Hey, man, let's talk. Let's figure this out. Can we ask some questions? Can we?"
You remember like Peyton Manning's like last year, like his last season of football, or his last season was the Super Bowl, correct?
Yeah.
You remember? Like, did you ever watch the games?
Yeah.
But Peyton Manning was a football player. Eli doesn't like sports.
Yeah. Has a brother named Eli or something.
I don't know.
Yeah, weird, right?
You're guessing right now. Don't play that.
Great guess.
I'm sure you watched some of the games, but remember some of those passes Eli was throwing in his last season? They were fucking ducks. Yeah, sorry, Peyton Manning. Peyton. Some ducks. They were not good spirals. And poor Demaryius Thomas, like, dude, some of those guys, it was a hard enough catch as it was, and it was a duck. I feel like some of the deals I was kind of like handing over to. The fucking pages are wrinkled and shit. Like clients got bad number. I don't know, dude. They were ducks.
I remember those first 3 deals, right?
And they were good
I
people.
know who they were, but that goes back to loving what you do and being able to look at something from the bird's eye point of view. Like, cool. So number one, this guy doesn't do technology. Then we have this, and then we have credit or whatever it might be. It doesn't matter when you look at it. If you've learned it the right way, right? Like number one, I genuinely just say yes. Like that's probably a downside of mine, but when somebody says, "Hey, can you help me with this deal?" That's the first thing that's going to say is yes, right? And then you look at it, you're like,
"Fuck,
okay, shit, this could be a little bit more challenging." But that goes back to why I love what I do, and why I enjoy that grind piece of it is because did we figure them out?
Yeah.
Do they own homes?
Yeah.
Dude, more importantly, man. Those
are the cool success stories that you learn way more off of deals like that.
Think about that.
Than you would anything else.
It was helping build my future, man, because we were taking care of clients to the point where they've given us referrals, and they've gotten great homes from it. But even further than that, right? Because I'm not most important in that. It's the client. But you can't not mention the fact that, like, dude, I was putting food on my kid's table. Yeah. I had a 2-week-old baby.
Yep.
Like, you know my story. I slept. Yeah, I was in my buddy's mom's pantry, for God's sake. Yeah. Then we get into a condo or a townhome, and Kate's paying for that. And she's like, cool, I can afford it by myself if it's needed. And I'm like, I'll blow my fucking head off before you keep paying for this for however long. I got to get on it. And you know, I started growing quick. I mean, I did 4 or 5 deals in 2 months, 2.5 months, and was cranking. But it was still scary, and we were working hard, and you were going everywhere to get those done for me. But man, like it was buying diapers, it was putting food on my kid's table. It was making me go home proud.
Yep.
And I don't think people understand, because again, clients are most important. This is a service business, just like law enforcement and the Marine Corps. I'm definitely service driven, and partially selfishly, I do feel good making others feel good. Weird, right? Like being generous is one of the most selfish things you can ever do if you actually do it, because you do feel good doing it.
Yeah.
But beyond the clients, you know, like my family was trusting me, like Kate was trusting me that at some point I would be successful, right? But she was going to hold the fort down the best that she could, not only working, but having a newborn, and then you know, and our daughter, and I would go home super late at night after a day and doing some social media, whatever I was doing, but I was able to go home proud.
Yeah.
You know how cool that is as a dad to just just betting on yourself, but then realizing how important it is to just have important people in your life that are just there to help you. I don't even know if you've ever looked that far at it to like what you were doing and how much it helped me, that you knew we were crushing clients.
Because that affects my world too. Right?
That's why it all worked. Yeah.
we're all in that same boat. We think that family. So as much as you say that, right? I mean, I feel the exact same way. Like
good point.
Without that client, right? Without that opportunity, I don't have that paycheck. Right?
And so at some point when you're new, you're counting mortgages.
My world is just as important as your guys' world, right? So as much as I'm there to support my family and do things like, you look at it the same way that I do. Like all we're really doing is putting food on our kids' tables, right? And we're helping each other out and supporting each other in that role. Like that's the biggest element of all this.
And here's where it scaled too. Here's what was so cool about it. Eli and I start growing a team.
Sure.
And all these people are coming from different walks of life and different brokerages, and they're coming to our team. But who was their primary lender? Scott. Not because I forced it, not because we forced it. It was like, hey, here's who I've used. Here's how well we're doing. Here, and then every time I would talk to clients about, or to our agents, how important your lender's communication and ability to navigate a deal was. And they kept coming up with like just a couple hiccups here and there early on. And then we brought you in to meet the team. We talked about it. And literally everything I was teaching them came from the book you and I were writing on how we want to do this and how, and I feel like we kind of did write that book of, at least for me, what works for me as far as like, hey, the book on lender realtor relationship, why it matters, how to execute, right? For dummies. Put that on there. My book for dummies. We started teaching that to the team, and then, hey, man, that starts putting more realtors in front of you, which grows your business. But then, flip side, our agents have a good lender now. So now their deals are actually getting done, which was helping Eli and I. Everyone was winning. We were scaling. It's so important, especially on the anniversary, to just shed the 8 years you did before being a manager, and then navigating and just building your business and being back into it for a handful of years now, and the relationships and the loyalty and the Andys you're talking about and friendship that we have. Not only is it important and you're going to execute, but you can scale. And like now we've got some fun stuff we can talk about too, as far as what we're doing now. And because we're doing YouTube, we created a YouTube channel, and we've already got clients calling us that want to move to Colorado, and we're doing a really good job at that. And guess who's involved with that?
Right.
Fucking you and Eric, man. Primarily you, because Eric's like, hey, that's your guy. And again,
well, and that goes back to the transition and the things that have happened, and I mean,
so where are you at now? Let's say this. I'm sure you're proud of it.
No, I'm extremely proud of it. I I'm now at Synergy One Lending, and I'm around a group of guys and men and women that I know, like, and trust and have massive respect for. And I mean, when I left Andy's team, I went down to the DTC, and I wanted to be closer to an Eric Colby, right? I wanted to be closer to somebody that was on a whole nother level that I could never imagine myself being on. But hey, I've made a lot of my careers by being around people that are better than me, right? So let me go be around some dude that's better than me.
And I'm sure they have the same thing to say.
Yeah, right? So I go down and I hang out for 3 months, and then Eric decides to go a different direction, and I didn't see that coming. No one did, but rightfully so. Good for him. He takes off and goes and does something, and that was a year and a half ago, right? So again, back to not making choices quickly and being methodical
we were
about
pushing
it.
You too, bro.
I know.
We were trying,
right?
Man.
It was, hey man, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to let the dust settle. Like Eric left and a bunch of people left. And I was like, cool, I don't know enough of this situation, so I'm just going to shut up. I'm going to go into my office, and I'm going to pick up my phone, and I'm going to keep grinding. Right? That's all I did.
And clients still matter. That's also a big piece, is you had a lot of clients that you can't just go 100%. Taking clients from one place to another and expect like that not to rock the boat.
And I still had a lot of love for Guild Mortgage, right? That was my company. That was my platform. That's what I knew. That was my comfort zone. Right. You know what I mean? And so, but inevitably, right, I spent a year and a half with a company that I liked the company, right? It's a good company, good people. And I always revert back to it. Like what I loved about it was the men and women in the cubicles that grind to get deals done, right? Inevitably, Guild is a good company with good people, right? It was more of transitional things with leadership that I never asked for, right? I was an inherited stepchild at this point. But I tried, right? Again, I put my career a year and a half into this environment before, eventually, 8 months ago is when I really made the decision that this is the direction that I'm going to go.
Right.
But then you got to work on it. You got to put in time and energy, and you got to time it, and it's got to be perfect. And then COVID and all these things, you know what I mean? Yeah. But inevitably it couldn't have worked any better. And the irony is, right, my birthday was June 4th. I mean, that's when I resigned from Guild, and that's when I joined them. So not only moving forward is my birthday going to be my anniversary with my company. That's cool. Pretty cool. But it goes back to being around those that like and trust, you have massive respect for. Andy Jorgensen's back there, Eric Colby's there, Dean Sargent, Ryan Pilgrim, right, Aaron Nimick. These are some big names in our industry, right? And we're at the forefront of a company that we have an opportunity to make some big noise in.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and just in that short period of time of being there, you have massive support from them. It's, hey, do you want to build a team? Go do this. Let's do that. You want coaching? Go do this. They've done nothing but support this whole entire time.
And I think that's what's important is you were just ready for more.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's more, it's being back, and you guys saw my post, right? It's being back in a family environment at work, right? Like it feels good. Like I remember walking in on that first day and just being like, finally.
Yeah,
I'm here. It's good. It
not only for you, but even for your friends, man. Like you've spoken well about us, and we've been like just loyal to you and partners
even when
with
you guys come over, you feel.
Eric's like, why are you so buff? I'm like,
Eric, I introduce you.
Eric, you're buff and you're good looking.
Open arms, come in.
Yeah, I was like, I appreciate you complimenting me, Eric, but you're doing that.
Let me stop on one word that you said here. So you said that family environment.
Yeah.
Now, I'd say we're all very much like a family. And,
Agreed.
And as much as people see our content and stuff and probably think, oh, just all buddies, they all get to hang out. Yeah, that's a lot of it. But as a family, there's arguments. You don't like each other the most all the time. People say things that get on your nerves or do things, and that's how families are. And I'm sure, not just between us three, but I'm sure with Andy, with Eric, with your mentors, like I'm sure they were not your best friends at sometimes.
Yep.
But just how much just benefit is on the other side if you just wait out those things together. And it's just you can't divorce your fucking brother, right? You have to get along, and it's like it's just putting in that time. But that's where also that trust to say, oh, you want to build a team? Hey man, whatever you need.
Yeah, no, I think that's why, one, that I have massive respect for those that I'm now a part of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why I have massive respect for the two of you. You know what I mean? We haven't gone into it, and we don't need to go too deep, but we haven't had the prettiest of relationships at times, right?
I've yelled at Scott.
And I've yelled at you, right? It's gone both ways.
I slammed a couple of doors, but you know what? It always came from a good place. And this has been, and by the way,
but what's come from it has been growth. It hasn't been like,
it's called camaraderie.
Said this, I'll see you later.
It's camaraderie.
Right?
Yeah. People think like the Marine Corps being attached to SOCOM, like all these cohesive guys, and like everyone just like loves each other. Fuck no. You don't like everybody. Like I might have having beers with every single Marine that I was around, but and even the guys that I liked, that I enjoyed, sometimes, man, there's friction. Anytime you're trying to accomplish something extraordinary and everybody's got their heart in it, it's gonna rub some nerves sometimes. What matters is, one, it comes from a good place. You're not just toxic. You're not just a negative, toxic person that complains. Yeah, it comes from a good place. You got to have some type of resolution. If you have a problem and you voice it, and it's not always, and maybe you voice it in maybe not the most professional way, but you got to be coming to the table with some ideas. Yeah. And you have to have some self-awareness, right? Like that time I'm shouting at you on the phone, and there was a change in a loan, and it was fucking townhome. But they got it as a condo. We're diving into county
bullshit,
and all this stuff. And why the fuck they decided to label it that? But it was changing this person's loan, and you knew like my care for not only a client, but that hey, this is changing things to the point to where I'm not sure if I'll ever get a referral from this again if it goes rocky. And hey, how did we miss this? And did we miss it? And just you knew that I was just hypersensitive to the client experience, and I wanted to get it right. But one good came from it because I think here's the deal. The next day, I called, hey, not cool. I should not have raised my voice like that. Or it was that night or the next morning. That night, hey. And this is what probably most people don't know about me if you don't have a personal relationship with me. I'm very aware of what I'm doing. Even if you think that, like, if you think I'm out of control or if I'm a little extreme, I'm definitely aware of it. I'm never off the handle where I'm
which kind of makes it a little extra scary. The fact that he knows exactly what he's doing, you're like, oh fuck.
Thanks, Eli.
So
he's gonna come over with his fucking
just saying.
Yeah. But it was like that night, right? Okay, hey, not cool. Thank you for being patient with me.
Yeah.
Here's why I was frustrated. Yeah. That'll never happen again. And then it hasn't happened again. But then and then one time Scott yells at me.
I got back.
And he's like, but it was like, man, it was just like, but Scott's more of an internal dude. And there were some things that I didn't even know I was necessarily doing that might have been rubbing him the wrong way. And then, hey, cool, they voice. And then he's fucking yelling at me. And to my defense, I apologize for me yelling. He yells at me. I apologize to him that he had to yell at me. Because I'm like, hey, and I'm not even being funny. It was like, hey, man, I gotta see those. Hey, you're right, man. I gotta see those. And anytime like your heart's in it and the stakes are against you. I was talking to Eli last night and I was like, hey, bro, fuck odds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I like that. I'm like, you're high. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I wasn't high yet.
Yet. And I was like, to accomplish something extraordinary, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's things on deployments with Marines or entrepreneurship and just being a certain level at something, the odds are against you extraordinarily bad. And if you're looking at that, you won't even get started. Yeah. But everything that we're trying to accomplish and the things that we already have accomplished, when it's our families are on the line and we're doing things like, most of our days are awesome and constructive and mature, but you're going to have those days here and there. Sure. But those days count for so much on how you bounce back from them and how you stick together. And it's super important.
Yep.
Yeah. Super important. I think easily we've all, or the three of us, right? We've had plenty of opportunity to walk away. Right?
Hell yeah.
We've had plenty of opportunity to be
there might have been a fuck you and fuck Eli and hey, fuck that other guy. I don't even know who that other guy is, but fuck him.
Plenty of opportunity, right? And we all know our history and our path in our past, but most are quick to just walk away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Or just don't call that person
If I've
again,
done deals with all of my buddies that are still in this industry, I'd be way better off, right? But that's why I admire and love and protect this friendship so much, because we've had plenty of times to just walk away and say F them or forget it and do it, but we just never have, right? It's a tough time. You learn from it, you grow from it, you show up the next day and you get back to work.
But that's what's required there. It's like you learn, you grow, you show up the next day and you move on.
Most would be
well, dude, and
say see you later.
And
you guys haven't.
Hear each other
likewise,
out.
You haven't either.
Yeah, it's hearing each other out and making appropriate changes. And that's what I've seen is like any argument that we've ever had or anytime there's anything like that, it was communication thing, which was like resolved afterward, ongoing. You know what I mean?
By communication, and for the sake of the friendship, when Eli means communication, he means he stays out of it in a dark corner, and Scott and I talk. That's how that works. He navigates his
whatever happens, ability. And we don't want to make it sound like we always are fighting with each other either, right?
No.
But on those occasions, right? I mean, again, you look back at we're in a relationship type business. You guys know my past, I know yours. We know our history, right?
And it makes you move a lot smoother too. Like when you're not afraid of someone, you guys don't have to walk on eggshells.
Adventures that you're about to start, right? Which is super cool, and I'm thankful to be a part of those things. And I have a new adventure that I'm starting, and you guys are a part of that. So it's really cool.
Yeah, like Eli and I got to this point where like we were never having a conversation of like whether we were going somewhere or not.
Yeah, like we're not breaking up.
Which is what your loan officer thinks that the conversation is happening, right? Oh, great.
And that's where like
lost another agent or whatever.
That's where we're at now with you, right? It's like, no, man, we've made so much projects, and like you've got some stuff going on, we got some stuff going on, like. The conversations of like not doing work together, they're kind of just they're just not there. But what's nice is when you have forgiveness, where you don't have to be perfect, and if you lose your cool, again, every once in a while, if you're not, you got to make progress, or it's just not acceptable, right? Let's just keep that in there. But it's nice when there's forgiveness and camaraderie with it, because you don't have to walk on eggshells with your partnerships or your relationships, because if you make one slight subtle move or say something the wrong way at the wrong time, you're fucked. Versus like, no man, it's all good, and like, hey, we're free spirit on the phone, and it's just open lines of communication, and everyone's giving benefit of doubt that if I said something, it came off a little wrong, benefit of doubt that I didn't mean it that way, and if it's but also confidence that hey, if it did rub someone the wrong way, talk about it, and then that person has to definitely be open to it. But it just makes everything low stress and smooth.
And I want to encourage more people to be like that with the people that they actually want to do business with, because I can't help but feel like Eli 5 years ago, man, like if there were issues, I just like with me being non-confrontational per se, but also not productive. Like I would just be like, hey man, like sorry it didn't work out, and then you would just never hear from me again.
Sure.
And that sucks. That sucks for you, that sucks for me, especially if we do like each other. So it's like I just want to encourage people, like if there are things like that, talk about them. If it gets heated, all good. You're probably going to get through it, be stronger because of it.
It's weird too. Slammed Eli's door. Here's where I knew it would be all right.
He accuses me of slamming his door literally every single day. Or no, it's his handle on his truck.
I accuse or you do? Come on, bro. He does. His thumbs are fucking huge, and every time he grabs my handle on my truck, he just snaps it. Dunk. Like, how you open a door and just let it just slowly let it go back.
It's a giant ass Dodge Ram, by the way.
Whatever, bro. It does not give you the right to just beat the shit out of stuff. But I knew we'd be fine when him and I were arguing about a client. He was talking to an evil client behind my back. Didn't have my back.
Who's that? Oh, I can't wait.
Doesn't matter. It's what's his name?
Fuckhead.
Oh,
you can't say that after I call him fuckhead. Jesus. You're supposed to say, fuckhead.
No, you could have been like, oh, yeah, another guy. Anyway, just some confusion there. We were having a discussion and it kind of pissed me off. But again, we were still getting to know each other. This was early on.
Yeah, super early on.
I kind of slammed his door. I walk it off for a second. But then we were going into a listing presentation for one of our agents.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yep. No.
We went in. Client was first. Got along.
100%.
And that's where I was like, cool. Both of us are able to, like, he's not a talker. I am. We figure out ways to, like, to just compartmentalize it for a minute.
Yeah.
Go in there, execute for the team. And, like, that's where I was like, cool. Our priorities are in the same place with leadership. Now, it's just a matter of time of just getting on the same page of, like, and him and I never really maliciously did something to piss each other off. There'd be something, and it's really just a lack of communication, or he's just not seeing it from my perspective, right? And then, but I also haven't necessarily communicated that perspective to him yet, so you can't be short-fused. You kind of have to be patient and go, hey, man, I know you mean well, but hey, when we're doing this, it's kind of coming to me like that. And this is, you know what I mean? Like you just kind of have patience with some of that growth and understand that, like, not even if you are right, how you handle it could be wrong, because it might not be malicious. They're not even necessarily aware of your perspective.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So just huge lessons that we had to learn back then.
Oh yeah, man. But I want to talk about transition into fatherhood.
Oh shit.
You were single for a long time. Sounds like.
Yep.
About your business, man. Trying
you were
to
born
make
again.
it.
You met Hannah.
Yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Just that, man. I mean, right. Just took me a while to find the right one, and then when I did, it all felt very normal and natural.
Who found who?
So we met on Match.
Really?
I think she found me, right? I think like on Match you can wink or do something, right?
Yeah,
I think she made the first move, right? I played hard to get for a little bit.
See how good looking he is?
Right.
Could you imagine him on Match?
Tatted and
then
golly.
Yeah, well, we had
I
dinner.
bet your phone was like physically heavier with Match messages. No?
No.
no.
No. But we had dinner, right? And that's, the post conversation with Will was, hey, how did it go? And oh my God, I think she's the one. And
she's really cool.
People
after dinner,
I knew that night.
Really?
Yeah. We went back and we wrote it. Yeah. So I knew right away that was the one. And I mean, we were married a year and a half or so later, and then we started building our family, and amazing daughter Brecklin, and my son's 5 months old, Christian, and
we were all going through fatherhood together.
I mean, as great as businesses and accolades and successes and stories, and man, I tell you, when it's all said and done, I'll love to look at all the trophies and all the awards, but nothing will mean more to me than being a good dad.
Well, let's talk about that, man. So how did that start? Was it planned? Was it an accident with
Brecklin?
Yeah. So like that transition.
Married, honeymoon.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
and then
I'm not the youngest cat in the world, right? So I didn't even know if it worked. Right?
And when you're building your business, man.
Yeah.
Because I know you're also analytical and stuff.
Yeah.
Are you running numbers on cost of living with the baby versus how much I'm making versus what's Hannah going to do for work? What are we going to
you try to get a perspective of it, right? And it's babies ain't cheap. You guys all know that.
Yep.
They
First
can be.
one's more expensive
You don't
than the
fucking spoil
second.
them.
So I mean, it's that initial cost of all those things. But yeah, you try to put together how much it's all going to cost you, and nevertheless, I think it just gives you more motivation to go in and pick up the phone a couple more times, right? I mean, it's just an extra deal. It's just an extra,
so admirable,
extra relationship. You know what I mean? And
by the way, that is like the I don't know what the comparison is, but that's the worst thing in real estate that we all fucking do is it's just one more deal.
One more deal.
Yeah, I just got to do one more deal a month. All good. Oh yeah,
to afford it, baby. I'm just so glad you're not to. I'm not going to get too vulgar, but that's Scott.
Yeah.
And I love you for that.
Yeah.
That's why I need you in my life. I need that. I didn't run any numbers. Chloe was asleep on the couch one day, mid-afternoon. We had been working our asses off. We sneak off to the bedroom. We're kind of peeking through the door, making sure Chloe's still asleep. We time her cycle. Is that the appropriate way to say it?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, it was a no-fly zone. Too close to the next cycle coming.
Just ovulating.
Babe. And dude, you planned your kid, and I said, fuck it.
Yeah.
And just decided not to pull out. No, I literally vocally said, fuck it. Decided not to pull out, and then Gosh was here. Yeah, that's my story.
Yeah, I was like a combination of
You're
both
such
you
a
guys.
good dad.
I was like, I initially started off saying fuck it, and then nothing happened, and then I'm like, wait, I've been saying fuck it a lot. Like, why didn't anything happen in here? I feel like something should have happened by now.
Yeah.
So then I had to get a little more planned about it.
Sure.
But yeah. got to the same place.
Same results, right?
It was fun though. It was like all of our wives were like at some point like pregnant, just about the same time.
Yep.
Either crazy. One in, one out. I mean, I think all of our first, right? I mean, they're all pretty close to each other.
Yeah.
You know.
So what was that like, man?
We all had boys.
Having babies here, wife's pregnant.
Yeah.
Shit's hard. I'm sure you're trying to do business, but transitioning from being single dude to married in a year and a half, now you're having a kid and still trying to be about your business.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that goes back to any of those careers, right? Or even just building your business. You always have a vision of the way you foresee things, right? And I always had a vision. I met Hannah late in life, and I mean, if I would have met her sooner, right, I probably would have more kids, But nevertheless, like being married, having children was really important to me. And I mean, I have a unique name, right? Like my first name is John, and so my dad is John, my grandpa's John. Everybody's John in my world, you know what I mean? So growing up with that, knowing that if you don't have a son named John to pass on this tradition, that's always been there. So I mean, I've always wanted it, right? I mean, my parents are still married. I see them, I watch them. They're my example in all of that. So I've always wanted it. Just like you want to build your business and grow places, I wanted to do that with my family too. So, for me, right, I mean, sure, there were some numbers behind it. I don't think even if the numbers didn't work out in my favor, I was still going to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like I still wanted
One more deal, man.
Right? One more deal. Right? So it was always inevitably what I wanted and where I was going. And thankfully, I'm blessed enough to meet my wife and have my children. And,
Did you find that? Did you find that hard? Because one of the things that
it's hard as hell. It's hard as hell every day.
Well, like one of the things that we love about you, man, that was I mean, pretty much after doing a deal with you and realizing the way that you operated, I was sold. You, as busy as you are, you're available.
Yeah,
you'll fucking answer at 8:30 on Friday night.
You have other people you help other than us. We're not your only realtors that you help, but man, like you do a great job at making us feel like we're your only realtors.
That's cool.
Super important.
Yeah. Well, and how do you balance all that with having 2 kids and being at home? And
you have a very understanding wife.
Yep.
Or as understanding as you need them to be, right? I mean, ultimately,
as understanding as they will go.
Yeah, I mean, you're pulled in multiple directions, right? Like the uniqueness of my world is I'm there to serve my children, to serve my wife, to serve my realtor partners, to serve my clients. Like I'm very much in a servant-based world. You know what I mean? And so you try to make everybody feel as special or as important or as loved as you possibly can, and it's not hard to do. Like I genuinely have love. I love my partners. I love my family. It's easy to do. The hard part is sometimes juggling the time. Now, the uniqueness of our world is we can do things from where we need to. We can be at home. We can be wherever, as long as I have a Wi-Fi connection. One of the cool parts about this new company, right, is even more technology that's going to allow me to serve better and be better to my family. Right. So, but inevitably, just like you guys, right, it's hard, right? How do you balance it? What I know I didn't want to be or do, right, is be the guy on the phone. If I came home and there's Brecklin, and she's running down the hall to say hi to me, and I'm putting my finger out like, wait, one more call, one more something. It's unique to find a time in your world where you have to shut one off to turn one on, and I don't think it has to be as black and white as that. I think we have the uniqueness to find some gray and pick up a phone call or talk to somebody, but it's definitely like hey, are you cool if I call Will real quick? Are you cool if I call you? Is this cool with you? Right.
Well, and the relationships of if I call you 8 o'clock at night.
You know what I'm doing 100%. At 8 o'clock at night?
It's like
100%.
Let's make sure it's needed.
Picture back with Christian on my chest. Like, dude, I'm stuck.
I called and he couldn't answer. So I texted him. I was like, "Hey, dude, no sweat, no rush. Got a huge favor to ask you." It was silent for a while because he was again taking his time processing. Like, what the fuck is this?
Or his phone's in his pocket. He's like, "Fuck, I can't reach it."
Yeah, he's like, "All right, no sweat." Big favor. Nah, this guy's tricking me. Then he responds. He's like, "Hurry, give me the baby." Puts the baby on. He's like, no, what's the favor? And I was like, "Hey, dude, I just got this alert on Facebook that I didn't even know it was our anniversary until Facebook told me. Thank God for Facebook, right?" And I was like, "Hey, man, I ran this by Eli," and he was like, "Yeah, dude, get his ass here. What better way to do a podcast?" Cool. But it is that of like, hey, if you call and it's that time of night and they don't call back, like, hey, no sweat, and just make sure. And there's also that responsibility for all of us of anything that we got going on that's super important with one of our deals. Be looking at that during the day. That way, before 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whatever, if there's something that's a little pertinent that just has to get done, try to get it handled before like that family time comes. Because there's not really any emergencies in real estate. maybe you weren't paying attention to something and the ball dropped and now you're having to play a little catch up. And
so like first thing in the morning, you better do this kind of deal. Like
exactly. Or if we're on a competitive deal, you normally know when we're going out looking at homes, like, hey, dude, tonight, if we find the house, we might need you to call a realtor and at least leave a voicemail, but then you're expecting it, and 100%. We can just text you, hey, when you get a moment. But I think it's also just all of us just being a little bit more proficient with what we do that doesn't require as much late nights because we're getting it done.
Yeah, that and we understand and respect each other's business and their personal lives, and right, like,
well, that's
and we all know, right? Like, I know if there's a text or a call at a certain time, I know what it is, right? So it's important to pick up the freaking phone, call somebody back, right? Or like, hey man,
if it's a FaceTime, you're like,
I gotta hit you up tomorrow.
Who's taking a shit FaceTime?
And I took a picture of Christian on my chest as I was hanging out. I'm like, look, dude, I'm stuck. I can't do anything.
But I was like, hey, bro,
wake that up.
Yeah, it's like amazing. I was like, bro, amazing picture. Man. And it's fun too. But again, like we work pretty cohesively to where there's not much wasted energy. And if there's something that's just important, we're talking about it early in the day to make sure that. And we're pretty good at forecasting what might be a problem. Yeah. That way we can handle it the next day, and there is no late night calls. And believe it or not, the more proficient you get, the less waste of time.
We so rarely have anything happen between us or our deals or our clients or any, like, with us. It's always if we're ever calling you with an issue, it's some bullshit that some other lender's fucking doing with their clients. And we're calling you, be like, hey, man, is this fucking real?
Dude, the last 4 calls I had to Scott was on one of our listings with that guy that had to extend twice and just a shit show.
I remember.
Yeah, we've all been. Shit show. Yeah, it's been super.
But early on, like before I was with Eli, and a little bit early on, like there was some late night calls of just questions, and sometimes like the market was crazy back then. Like you did have to get an offer in at night, so they'd see it first thing at 7 a.m, and some of it just required more attention. So and when when you're learning, it takes longer. Yeah. So there was like late night calls, but then again, 100%. As we all get better, you don't have a lot of that overflow into the nights because your shit's tight.
Again, one of the benefits of just staying with someone long enough to get through all that shit
and knowing your craft, because I'm sure you deal with some realtors that you're like, man, as many deals as you do, like you just don't know your shit yet, do you? Yeah. That can be frustrating. Yeah, that's also money.
Yeah,
no doubt. Have them call me, I'll fix them.
So what you got in the future, bro? You mentioned you're a man of vision. What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, now that I find myself at a place and an environment and a company that supports your growth and lets you be you, everything from wearing jeans and, my untucked shirts where I couldn't do it before. I mean, that being in that environment just feels good.
You feel like an outlaw right now? He's got his shirt untucked. I bet you feel like such a bad boy.
I feel a little awkward.
Yeah, man.
It looks good. Looks good.
I feel a little uneasy.
Dude, I can't believe I'm glad you said that.
What?
Because I forgot to mention that Scott was on the marketing for 24 Hour Fitness.
Yeah.
Like the corporate pictures of like people in like 24 Hour
Fitness. The big like 8-foot stickers on the wall.
It was always like
all over the place.
It was always
on the front door.
Yeah,
everyone.
What a great place to work. Now hiring.
Was that it?
Right, and they would like super.
That's how corporate you were. You were literally the corporate mascot.
And even when I wasn't there, right, it was still what an amazing place to work.
Yeah, I was like, well, we already made the shit. He's good looking.
I got zero royalties out of that, by the way.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
Nothing.
Not fair to that face right there.
I bet a bunch of moms looked at you though.
Stop.
Yeah.
You'd always be like, "You're that guy."
They stared at you above the treadmill for fucking.
And it's also like, oh, we know they got to complain to. Oh, real cool on your poster. Would you mind changing the toilet paper in the bathroom?
Yeah.
The floors are dirty, right? Like, oh, Mr. Big Time.
Yeah.
The machine's not working.
Yeah. We all did you did way more 24 time than I did, but we all did our 24 time. That's pretty good. Yeah.
I was over there, Brendan. Do you remember Brendan Egan? He's a sharp dude. I like that guy, man. He's a Marine.
For sure.
Good dude.
He's a good dude.
Really good dude.
I didn't get a chance to work with him too much, but I definitely know him.
And he's dealt with me before. He dealt with me right out of the Marine Corps. Yeah. Like Marine Corps, some government work, home. Hi, Brendan. I literally came, dude, I was a day, then like I got home. I drove home. The next day, I'm going to get a gym membership. Mm-hmm. And I'm there, and he happens to walk up to the front desk. And he's like, hey, what's up? And he's talking to me. I was like, yeah, man, just got home and just the Marine Corps and did this stuff. And he's like, oh, cool, Marine, right on, man. He's like, I'm in now. I used to be in the Marines. And I was like, and I was never a chest bumper, but I always just like Marines. Like, hey, cool, man. Who are you with? He started telling me. I was like, do you know this person? You know that person? He's like, yeah. I was like, yeah. I was our director at Division Schools. He's like, yeah, I know that fucking guy. And so we had a couple mutual friends. He's like, well, what are you doing? I was like, well, I'm just going to come home and be a cop, I guess. He's like, all right, well, so that takes like a year. And I go, really? He goes, yeah, man, it takes a while. Like, do you need a job? And I was like, well, I'm on post leave right now for like 60 days. And he's like, devil or warrior, whatever he said, super, super nice and officer-esque. Hey, listen, warrior. You know, and he's just like, don't get lazy. Don't have nothing to do. Don't know. You need to, you stay fit, keep your mind busy. And man, there was guys that were deploying from my old unit that were going deployment and passing away. And that was a kind of a hard struggle. And, yeah, he was just always there in the right kind of way, and what a really good dude. And I remember one time I told him I told him off a couple months ago. He like text because he gets so busy, right? And it was like he kept saying he's gonna call me back or something, and we're talking about something, and then I'll call him no answers, and then he sends me like a happy birthday, like a Marine happy birthday text message with like and I thought it was a group text message, and I was like, hey man, I didn't serve for you. Why don't you call me back? Like you're gonna send me this cookie cutter bullshit, knowing something. And we're friends, and dude, it was awesome.
Oh man!
So he calls me and he goes, "Hi Grimes, everything okay?" Oh, dude, instantly, like just brought me down. I'm like,
wash away.
Yeah, but hey man, like dude, I respect you, and I've done a ton, and I want to show you, man. I want to make you proud that you put your effort into a guy that made it. Because dude, unfortunately, a lot of guys that get out, they don't do well sometimes. And some of those good leaders like the Brendan Egans that were good leaders in the Marine Corps, man, like they probably do hear a lot of horror stories or a lot of guys that reach out to them but then don't really make it out of that funk. But I felt like I had. And I had something to prove, and I wanted to show my appreciation to him. And we just never got time to get back on the phone. And then before you get time to call me back, you're sending me some shit you probably sent to 100 dudes. And he's like, first of all, I don't send that to everybody. I send that to like just a couple friends. And no, but he's one of, you can't crack Brendan. No. You can't fucking crack him. You be as mad as you want. He'll just. So I'm sorry that you feel that way. Right? Like he's fucking he's good. Shit. But he also knows me. He knows like if I'm mad, and I think everyone knows me. Like if I ever get upset, like it's coming from a place of care. Yeah. There's a disconnect, and it's coming from a place of care. Yeah. And man, he reads me like a book. What a cool guy. Yeah. What a sharp dude.
I have to apologize. I cut you off. I asked about your goddamn life vision. You got to tuck shirt, and I'm all, hold up.
To poster boy?
Hold up. Yeah. So
that's all it is.
You can untuck your shirt now.
Yeah, you're right. You just
what do we got in the future?
You're in an environment where you're comfortable. All you want to do is just put your head down, grind, grow, build, scale, support, right? Do what you need to do. I have visions of just building a team, right? Adding a couple people here and there. I'm going to have the opportunity to do that here really soon and add somebody to come help support, so you can go and, serve others and bring in more business and kind of grow from that piece. And, when you are in an environment in a company that supports your vision and is just like, cool, like we're going to do what you need to do. Like ever since I've gotten there, Colby's and Pilgrims and Aaron Nimick, these guys have just, cool. Yep, I'm on board. Yeah. Whatever you want to do, like that's when you have a company that believes in what you want to do, right. and you're locking arms with men and women that like and trust, right? And you're all in it for the same reasons. You want to not only build your business and have longevity in your career, but you also want to build the brand of the company. And when you have that type of love for a company, then
well, and you know what else that does, man? Them giving you that little nod or that approval, like that tells them, they're not fucking idiots, right? And they're not going to give you that much trust and that approval unless you've already proven yourself to them, which in turn gives you the more confidence to keep rolling and just doing better and better things.
They're good dudes too, man. So go ahead.
Whatever the end all results are, right? Yeah. You don't know. I mean, our industries and our time, it's all going to evolve. I just want to do what's right by others, build the business the way that it evolves, and maybe get better at some social media stuff along the way.
We got you.
Yep.
We got you. Right. We got Eric.
Right.
They're good. You know what I like about Eric too, man, was they just made us feel welcome too. Not that others haven't, but just made us. Well, Gil didn't. No disrespect to Gil, we just never knew him. Yeah. But we got friends in the industry. The Gavin's of the world. Gavin's a great personal friend of mine.
Shout out to Gavin.
Oh yeah, we love that dude. But Eric just made us feel welcome, and he's a sharp guy. He's a little bit analytical and processes some things, and he's a thinker. And when we were presenting some stuff to him, he had some good questions. But he'll also just kind of goof off, man. He'll also just kind of like the other day when he was kind of like pinching me or hitting me, he's like, "Why are you so buff, bro? Like, fuck you doing?" I was like, "Dude, but like, I'm like, yeah, thanks, bro." But he'll kind of, he just doesn't take himself too serious. I think is what I'm trying to get at. And I think sometimes when you're on the grind and you're trying to accomplish so much, like you just have to remember too, like not even just don't take yourself too serious when it comes to like mistakes, but don't take yourself too serious when it comes to like meeting people and having a good time and just understanding the value of like, let's all sit down and like, let's brainstorm. Let's go over what you guys are doing. But at the same time, let's also get to know each other. Because and the reason why I bring this up is you keep saying know, like, and trust, you know, and a lot of that comes from just, you know, breaking bread or time spent or whatever, just like getting to know each other and letting guys elaborate and see where their thought processes are and just coming to the table where, hey, we've got plenty of numbers to show we're successful.
Sure.
I don't need to prove that to him. He knows that. He also has nothing to prove when we walk into his office and we're in his conference room. He doesn't have to puff his chest up and now he's got to like be the big man on campus and have something to prove to us because this is his office. And none of that happened. There was literally no ego besides him making a joke that I was big. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. Right? Like just stupid shit, like fun stuff.
Yeah.
But when he came in, it was absorbing our content and it made it a comfortable environment because we knew like, look, we've been with Scott for a long time. I'm sure he's mentioned we've had numbers to prove. This guy runs this. He's got nothing to prove to us. Let's just sit down and brainstorm and go over our next plan of attack. And it's such a cool thing when that's a priority. But also, no one's having to like force that. That just flowed. And it just makes us even more. And I remember you and I were talking. We went out to lunch one time. And you're like, hey, man, like I know you guys are kind of doing these classes and you're kind of moving this direction. And, you know, and you were thinking about going a couple different places with your career. And you're like, man, but like, you think we'll like grow apart? And like, man, and it's okay because I know you guys are doing a lot over here. And I was like, hey, bro, no, not at all. Like, we're just giving that an opportunity. But no, you're our guy that's done every sphere, every this. But then I'm so glad you brought it up because I was like, look, don't go work for a company because we're friends with them. We need you. If you're making a move, we trust you in the lending so much. Go to whatever company has the technology and the services and the people that are grinding on the back end to get deals actually done and the leadership that you need and the ability to grow. You go where you feel you are going to be most successful because we know our business will follow and trace. And then before you know it, we're not doing those classes and everything flowed to your side. And it was like, hey, as much as we think we know or the people that we do know, thanks for going where your gut told you because now we got to meet Eric. And things are just awesome. And it was so important, but I'm so glad like you said that because in friendship that is important to like you almost like felt bad asking it because you were like, man, if they grow away from me, I can't blame them. They're not bad dudes. They've always been honest, but it also gave us an opportunity to prove some loyalty to you and some trust, and it worked out in our favor because when we get to meet a guy that you've had a relationship that we know nothing about, that's going to end up being a huge part of all of us, right? And that was cool to just let you, hey man, you're at the driving wheel right now. You're a leader. We're going to go, but we need you to go where you think we can actually get deals done because that's the backbone of our business. And doing the right thing is always the right thing, and it's already paid dividends. It's huge.
100%.
Last question, bro. Like it's a fucking interview.
He's always trying to like pull some dirt out. He's like the nice passive one, but he's always got these difficult questions.
No. But before we go, I do want to find out. Will and I, we've been cranking through COVID, man. And we didn't miss a day. We got busier, I think. We just didn't let ourselves take a day, right? Just kept showing up. You've been cranking right alongside us. What have you seen in the mortgage world in relation to COVID? What have the people who have been continuing to do business like you, what did you do to do that? Just what's the mortgage world and COVID and all that shit looking like right now?
Yeah, well, I think everybody, kind of knows, obviously, when COVID was introduced at our country, the impact that it had in the mortgage world was mainly around rules, regulations, guidelines, restrictions, FICO stuff. I mean, every lender, bank, entity just kind of puckered up a little bit, right? And they were like, you know what, we're going to make this just a little bit harder to get qualified. And that makes complete sense when you see unemployment go up the way that it has. And, these things happening. I mean, that's learning from 2008 type of mistakes, right? Where it's like, okay, we're going to try to protect our entity a little bit. And we're going to try to limit our foreclosure or our default rate type thing. So the biggest things that you kind of saw was that initial like shock of the stock market drop and the rate and everything was just squirreling all over the place. You know what I mean? I think for my business, you're sitting back as a 100% commission type, employee going, okay, cool. What kind of impact is this going to have? And very similar to other things in my world when those things happen, man. It's just put your head down, shut up, keep making phone calls, keep grinding, you know. And yeah, you definitely felt a little bit of a dip and an impact, but you know, I mean, Colby mentioned it on your guys' podcast before, like at any point in time when you've had those, you know, big impacts or those crashes, you basically followed up with a boom, right? And I'm sure other people's booms are bigger than mine, but then, you know, the business kind of comes back. You know, I mean, all those people that kind of, even that were fully pre-approved and that weren't impacted by COVID, they still kind of just paused and they were like, you know what, this is jacked up. I'm just going to hang out and sit tight, you know, and then all of a sudden we started to understand it a little bit more. We started to get a grasp of it a little bit more. And then all of a sudden people started to get more comfortable going out there. You know what I mean? And obviously you guys were restricted with showings and all this crazy weird stuff. And it was interesting that we all were in the same boat, right? We're all in the same situation, just dealing with it, right? In the trenches, taking grenades, trying to make it work. And you know, I think the worst is behind us. You know, I think inevitably COVID is going to be around for a while. I think some of the restrictions will stick around for a little bit while, but you're starting to see more and more of those restrictions and those kinds of things get lifted. We're starting to see a little bit more normalcy. You're starting to see more programs come back. Jumbo is coming back. You know, things like this are getting to be more normal. But I think my industry, like yours, like everybody else's out there, was impacted in some way whatsoever. And obviously we're just trying to get back to it.
Yeah. And there's always going to be an upside to something. Like, you know, if something that hurts one person might help another. You just got to find where to give value. If someone's getting hurt, how do you bring value to them? How do you help them out? And it's not always refining or buying a home. And if someone has an opportunity, it's also about help people that might have an opportunity there as well. Like your job is to represent them the best. It's not to have an opinion of, man, this guy's got an opportunity, he's buying 4 properties, but this person's losing a job. It's, man, you got to be impartial here, and you got to just help this guy with everything that he's crushing and taking advantage of something, while at the same time, if someone's not doing something well, what can we do to like lessen the damage or dampen the damage for them in those moments, and really just being an advocate and just being a good person to someone and figuring out where's my value to them right now, and how can I best implicate that to them to help the situation.
It's full circle, like right there, right? We're in a relationship type business, man. And what used to be, you know, I guess when it happened, right, what used to be 10-minute conversations turned into 30 and 45-minute conversations, because you're now kind of a therapist. You're just somebody to listen to, right? And you're having really deep emotional conversations, whether it's with your, you know, your agent partners and business partners, or it's with your clients, or it's with your spouse, or whoever it is, man. It's just like we're all in it. But yeah, I mean, all those conversations, right? Everything turned a little bit, got a little bit longer, a little bit crazier, but.
And even for the people that pause, you know, just doing the right thing and giving the right type of advice. Like when they do come back around, the trust and relationship they have with you, they're going to come back. You don't have to harass everyone. You don't have to go throw your fucking mailers out to everyone because you're scared. Like just be a good person, and believe it or not, they're loyal. They're more loyal to you than you think.
100%.
Right on.
Cool.
That's it, man. I think
we know you got things to go do.
I think
So we gotta let you go.
1 year anniversary.
1 year anniversary, boys.
Glad you guys brought me on.
Yeah.
I was anti a little bit, right? I mean, we all know I'm a little bit more of an introvert.
Yeah, a little bit.
I like to sit back in the cut and just kind of get the deals done. But
he's like the super hot girl of the group that gets all the compliments. Oh, stop it! I'm sorry.
Right.
I got to finally see what the basement's all about.
Bro.
The underground bunker.
The undisclosed location of Day 1.0.
It's legit.
It's cold down here.
It's freezing, right?
It is. God,
I was shivering.
If I get invited back, right? I'm
gonna
bring a space heater or
I know. I got to get
jacket with me.
I'm just here. I mean, I'm gonna hold out the longest, just so I'm that's how I am.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys bringing me on.
Likewise,
appreciate
man.
you coming, man.
Appreciate your partnerships, friendships.
Likewise, everybody else, happy Friday. Appreciate you guys hanging in and listening and having a good time with us. And again, you find us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, all that good stuff, everywhere. YouTube, Facebook. If you guys have questions, or even if you maybe want to be on the podcast, or you know someone that would be a great fit for the podcast, please throw it out there. We'd love to hear from you guys.
See you later, guys.
Out.
Day 1.0.